Zoobox, is that you?
What the fuck kind of name is that?
Yo, Zoobox, what it do, baby? It's your boy, Ari Spears here. Going to win, Zoobox, and persevere.
The Zoobox is working.
I don't know what Zoobox means. I don't get it. Is this just some, I mean, obviously it's a code name of some kind.
Zoobox is working, man.
He says you a trash rapper.
Man, I want to dress up like a bunny rabbit and fuck.
That's all I gotta tell you, Zoobox. Come on, man. Chin up, find a place to smile, right?
Why, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Goes to the Movies Live. I'm your host, Shaun, and with me, as always, is my adopted son, Jeremy. What's going on, Jeremy?
Oh, the going goes well in my neck of the woods. I am recovering from just mucus, snot, and sneezing, and everything, and just getting back on track and making movies happen and watching movies as we do for the show. But I'm doing okay. Thank you, Shaun.
So what did you get? Like, is it like some sort of chest thing, like a bronchitis type deal?
Yeah, it was just like was feeling it like up here and just kind of like
think about
having a lot of phlegm.
Dude, it could have been monkeypox, dude.
Oh yeah, that's the timely disease going around again right now, right? Yeah.
That's this year's this election season's disease.
Yeah.
Is monkeypox. So stay out of those bathhouses, everybody.
Yeah.
Just fucking chill for maybe like 6 months. You'll live through it. Don't worry. No more piss orgies. If we've learned anything from our good friend Babe the Pig Boy, last year when monkeypox first reared its ugly head, this guy had this viral tweet thread about how he knew monkeypox was going on, but he's like a sex addict orgy guy that also an OnlyFans creator, and he just had to, he had to keep working, He needed to pay his bills. And he goes by the name Babe the Pig Boy, and he's really into like getting pissed on and gargling pee. Just like seemed like a really nice dude. But and at the end of his tweet thread, he's like, I don't think it's responsible to tell gay men not to have anonymous sex. It's not going to work. So we got to figure something else out. And I was like, really, dude? Really? Prof says, now we're talking. I feel like it's been decades since the last Zoobox. It has been. It's been a couple weeks. I haven't done anything. This is the first stream I've done since I think the last time we were together.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't even done I saw today, I have not done a nightcap in about a month. So I think it's time. It's time to do one sometime in the near future.
I would say at some point, and just for the audience, I guess, who's viewing right now too, we are due for another Emmy Joy rabbit hole. I think
they're updating more and more frequently these days.
They are
our twin flames, Emmy Joy and Nico.
Yeah,
they did an open mic the other day. I saw it.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Did you see that too? Yeah.
I did.
I didn't watch it. Like I really don't watch them until we watch them on stream. But I just saw the title, obviously, because I make sure I'm appraised of everything that's happening with them. Trelling says, I'm sorry. What?
I was gonna say real quick, like the biggest thing with those like stage performances or open mics that they do, like you never see the audience, and you can tell like it is a very minimal amount of people like out there like actually cheering them on.
It's like it's her sister. His boyfriend with a giant dick.
Yeah.
And just a few other nutty, crunchy people enjoying some falafel or something.
Right.
Whatever they eat over there. Trelling says, I love when Princess Leia shows up at the end of Alien Romulus in an autoloader and says, get away from her, you bitch. Yes, the crossovers are happening. Disney X Star Wars X Alien. It's upon us. It's all upon us. Signal Intrusion says, twin flames burn eternal. No lies detected, and that's why they're still together to this day. They're going pretty strong. For people of that disposition, sometimes they can be kind of flaky. So I got a lot of respect for them pulling through the long haul. Look, I wonder if they have an open relationship. Actually, I'm curious. But anyway, sorry.
Possibly. I mean, I was Team Nico for a little bit until like he just decided not to pull out. He just I guess he wants to just be like this Emmy Joy joy slave for, I don't know how you would describe it, but she's kind of stuck now. Yeah.
Some people just want to be taken care of. They just want to be taken care of. And she seems like she's got some sort of maternal instinct in her. Maybe and he does look like a 15-year-old boy.
Yeah.
So maybe that really kicks in and she just is a very mothering presence, And it's healed his soul, Jeremy. It's healed his soul. I mean, they're twin flames, and in this incarnation, they're lovers. In past incarnations, she used to be his mother. Prophet says, Nico is still alive. I thought he got the long COVID and died of iron deficiency. Oh, that's Nico Stubler. That's our resident vegan activist. If you guys aren't aware, we interviewed a crazy vegan activist like a couple years ago. It's on the YouTube channel. Let me see. Trumlick says the Emmy Joy and Nico OnlyFans is coming, but she will charge as she does for Geminars. $3,000 to see that thing. Yeah, well, she needs to know you're serious. Yeah. That's why it's so expensive to be part of her Geminars, because you got to be serious. And the only way in this day and age to show that you're serious is to plop down some hard, cold cash. Okay? Yeah. Brandon Rhodes says Jeremobi gives off a pervert vibe. Who the fuck are you?
Or no?
How dare you, Brandon? I don't know what the fuck that is. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to put you in timeout, Brandon. Tremlick says, if I was Nico, I wouldn't pull out either. Knock her up and ride that rich girl gravy train. I mean, that's a real thing. That's a real force out there in the world. But we don't talk about that kind of stuff over here on Goes to the Movies. This is a decent show. This is a show for gentlemen. Okay? This is not a show for freaks. This is a show for cinema. Let me see. One last thing here. Prophet says, I feel like I need to step in and defend Jeremy's honor here a little. Don't judge a man by his mustache.
Yep.
That's true. That's true. I have a soul patch. I just went full soul patch right now. I mean, that's pretty gay. That's pretty gay. Oftentimes people come up to me because everybody's a disgusting degenerate now. They're like, "Oh, nice flavor saver." Yeah. I'm just like strangers. People at the supermarket say that, and you're like, Jesus, is there something about me? Is there just something about me? Brandon Rhodes, ban users, delete comments. I have no idea who that dude is, but he's gone. Austin Siri says, hi guys. Hi, Austin.
I'll just quickly add, I didn't start doing the whole mustache thing until 2 or 3 Halloweens ago, I guess. I was Tom Atkins from Night of the Creeps. And I wanted to rock that out, and I was actually pulling it off pretty well. And then I thought, you know what? I'm keeping this thing. I think I'm gonna keep growing on it. I'm gonna still stick with it for a little bit. I don't care what other people think. That's the attitude you got.
No, I know we've discussed this before. Pulling off a mustache is not for every face. Not every face can do it, but your face can. Yeah. You have a face where you can have a mustache. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're one of like the one of the privileged. One of the touched.
Sure.
Tremlick says, Jeremy looks more like a Bollywood star playboy. See, that's exactly. With that shirt, for sure. Definitely. Yeah. He's definitely got a harem in another room right off camera. Prophet says, Shaun is auditioning for Stone Sour. Needed the right facial hair. That's right. I'm going to be in some sort of some gay 90s rock band. That's my look. It is kind of my look. I can't even deny that. Like, it is just how I look. But anyways.
We're talking like we're at like some sort of like girls' slumber party. Like, oh yeah, I miss when I grew my hair out and everything. Like,
yeah. Oh my God. I used to have such beautiful hair. It's like, I know. Why did you cut it? I just needed to do something different. I was depressed. Signal Intrusion says, this mustache is growing on me. Nice one. But anyways, let's get into the movies. So we got a couple movies we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about M. Night Shyamalan's new movie Trap, and also Fede Alvarez's new movie Alien Romulus, which is why we postponed the show until tonight so Jeremy and I could check it out. We could check it out. Have you seen before we get into that stuff, have you watched anything else? Have you had an opportunity to peruse? Been watching cinema and you were sick? Did you hang out in bed and watch movies?
No, I told you earlier. I started watching The People's Joker. Now, no.
Yeah.
So this is a 2022 movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Is it just now making the rounds, or
It was like I think it was made in 2022, and then it was
Okay.
screened one time, and then Warner Brothers slapped it with like a cease and desist for copyright infringement.
okay?
And that was last year because that was a festival, and it was kind of which I kind of after because I watched about half of it. I think you watched about half of it, or we both watched like kind of like half of it, and I didn't really see how that applied to that movie. Honestly, I thought it was enough of a like obviously a satire or a parody that it should have
Sure.
been okay.
Yeah.
I was kind of confused about that. It almost made me think it was like a marketing ploy, like to
Yeah.
get people to see the movie, you know? But yeah.
Of all the kinds of problems you can have with this movie, and I haven't watched it in full, that's like the least of it. I don't really have a problem with it doing any sort of like parody or any like whatever, sure. But the content itself is just so like we kind of talked a little bit earlier before the show, it's that alt comedy sort of just wink wink at the camera without being subtle or doing anything creative with it,
It's all like ironic humor. It's
Yeah.
all irony based. Like the jokes are bad and they know they're bad, and that's why it's
Yeah.
funny. And it's kind of that same thing over and over and over again. And basically it's like the story of this person's transition coming out as a trans person. I thought it was pretty insufferable. I watched about 50 minutes of it. I don't think I'm going to finish it. I was just I was like, because you immediately understand what it is within about 10 minutes, and then it just never evolves, or at least it didn't from what I've seen. And I watched almost an hour of it, and it's like an hour and a half movie. And it's like the way I thought of it, it was like more insufferable than a ContraPoints video. It's like it's like a YouTube video, I don't get it. I don't get what the big deal is about this. Like, I don't understand why this was in theaters, etc. It's a bunch of art school kids that hate their parents that are involved in the alternative comedy scene. I think they're all part of UCB. I recognize some of the actors. I actually had seen some of them before.
I don't even
So some
like,
of them
hear-
have been around.
I don't even hear like even in like film Twitter scene or whatnot. I don't even hear like their target demographic talking about this movie. Really, it just exists. It's just there. It's really weird. It's like it's like the Dime Square crowd again, where it's just like, well, like, what can we what can we do to push boundaries, maybe offend like some boomers and whatnot, but also really.
But that's the thing. It was so hack. Like the
Yeah.
jokes were so cliche and hack, and you're like, well, I think sometimes it's supposed to be ironic, and sometimes I just
Sure.
think they're not funny. They actually are not funny people.
No.
They don't understand comedy. They're looking for what's called clapter, I think Joe Rogan might have coined that term, clapter. They want you to laugh and clap because you agree with whatever position or political ideology they're joking about or they support, etc. And it just felt very much like a lecture.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? Because you're supposed to, in reaction, you laugh if you relate to the joke, you clap if you agree with the joke, or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Well, sure, yeah. It's kind of like what's her name? That Hannah Gadsby from a couple years ago.
Yeah.
That would be another example of this kind of humor where it's not really there to like, it's not a joke. It's not about being funny.
Yeah.
That's not its primary goal. And it just doesn't really work for me. You know what I mean? Provis says, Sean looks like the kind of guy who had a hit single on the Twister soundtrack. You know it, buddy. I got some of those Goo Goo Doll vibes. Tremlick says, Sean's ready to make Eddie Vedder eyes at the camera while a white guy with dreadlocks shreds on a drop D tuned guitar to the right of him. That's true. I'm always ready to do that, And then Prophet says, the Jeremy hate is a little pathetic. Somebody needs to feel the sharp end of a buck knife. Oh, that's just some guy. Must be somebody that you must have a hater, Jeremy.
Yeah. He found I guess like some bootleg copy of the movie before it was even finished, and now he hates me. Yeah. I guess.
And now he can't, dude. He's just like, he's upset. He was in the woods watching you guys film it. He says, "This is not cinema. What is this? The People's Joker?"
They're gonna watch this on their phones? No. We shot on mini DV, damn it.
Yeah. I got to see Lawrence of Arabia on the big screen. I had never seen it before. It was the first time watch for me.
Nice.
David Lean's seminal masterpiece. It's cool. Like I like going back and filling in these gaps, and whenever I get a chance to like go see it in the theater on the big screen, like obviously something like Lawrence of Arabia makes that experience all that much more impactful. I will say though, out of all of the older movies that I see, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I've never seen this before. Like this is incredible. I think on like the level of scope and craftsmanship, it is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But I honestly didn't love the movie. I don't think it's aged very well. I don't think the perspective on the politics, it came out at a time where like the Middle East was coming into the popular zeitgeist of the West. And it was like a very mysterious place where like honor and old ways were still a thing, etc. And it kind of fetishizes them in a weird way. Mm-hmm. It's kind of very similar to Dune, actually. Frank Herbert wrote Dune around the same time Lawrence of Arabia comes out. So there was definitely something out there in the zeitgeist that was pulling people towards these kinds of stories. But I think now that we have a little bit more sense of awareness of what it's really like out in those parts of the world, some of it rings a little hollow, a little almost like cringe a little bit. But I'm not going to say that's not a good movie. It's a fantastic movie. Peter O'Toole is incredible in the movie. And like I said, just for the sheer scope of it, it is impressive. And some really amazing, just technical stuff that they were doing in that movie, especially for the time. Even just thoughtful transitions and stuff. Like there's the famous one when he blows out the match and then it hard cuts to the Arabian desert with like the sun burning and stuff like that. There's just so many little touches like that. I'm not really equipped to speak on it very well because it was the first time I ever watched it, and it's a 4-hour movie. It's a lot to take in. You watch it in the theater, but if you guys haven't seen Lawrence of Arabia, you should definitely put it on your list. It's one you got to watch at least once.
I do need to acquire a copy of it because it's been many years since I saw it. I want to say back in film school days, we watched it, and then I also watched it with my parents when I was much younger as well. It is one of those films that definitely revolutionized the whole cinema scope. We're gonna go as wide as we possibly can,
Oh yeah.
And I agree with you in that from what I remember, it's definitely the middle portion. I think most people regard as like definitely like what they think is like the better aspects of the film. Maybe the beginning and the third act, or they kind of meander a little bit, but it is just those visuals. And
well, that's really what stays with you. I mean, because it's about like the idea of idealism and adventurism intersecting with reality. Like everybody, he has Peter O'Toole's character has a perspective of what he thinks these people are and what he thinks this world is and what it can be and why he wants to support and help them and use the British government to help them kind of get their land back, etc. And then by the end of the movie, he kind of is faced with some stark realities. I mean, there's like, they don't show it, but there's an implication that he's basically beaten and raped in a Turkish prison. So it's, which is a big wake up call for him. And he wants to leave like immediately. Because he has that sense of fear. Like he feels like a coward, So there's a lot of interesting stuff. Like I said, it's a movie that I would like to kind of like watch again and kind of dive deeper into the themes and stuff like that. It's not something I've ever watched like people talk about or a documentary. So I kind of went into it completely like innocent. Like I just didn't know anything really about it. I just knew that it was Peter O'Toole, Arabia, famous for its, its scale and its scope. And that's kind of all I knew about it. So, yeah.
Would you say Alec Guinness was a very convincing Arab, Sean?
That's right. I was watching it because I didn't know. Like I said, I didn't look up anything. Yeah. And for some reason, Lawrence of Arabia had just kind of, something I never encountered. I just never came across it. And I was watching it. I'm like, that's fucking Alec Guinness. That's Alec Guinness in fucking brownface. Because like you can hear Obi-Wan in them too. Like, and I hate to bring that up. I hate to be that guy, but you can definitely you hear it in the performance a little bit. Just the cadence of his speech. Prophet says, "What, Sean? Do you have an issue with the noble Muslim people? Peace be upon them. Don't make me have you extradited to London for hate speech and incitement. It's coming. They're gonna be like, we heard what you said about Lawrence of Arabia. Peter O'Toole is one of our finest thespians." And did you watch anything else?
Very, very recently, last night even, I rewatched not the second one, but the first one, The Collector. Do you remember this
yes.
slasher home invasion thriller? Holds up impressively well, all things considered. And I was only watching this out of we're going to talk about Alien Romulus later, out of spite towards I guess a little bit Fede Alvarez when he did Don't Breathe and everything.
Yeah.
And watching this one, I'm thinking, wow, they were a little bit ahead of the ball game here, doing something pretty different with what we're like used to with this kind of setup, this kind of like
because everybody thought it was a Saw knockoff.
Yeah.
And then when you watch it, it's it is a Saw knockoff, but it's also more than that. Like it uses that as an inspiration. It was what was going on in movies at the time, but it does something unique with it. It's definitely one that I've always really liked. I even like the sequel. I mean, The Collection.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to make a third one, and right before they started shooting, they got robbed. All of their equipment and shit got robbed, so they lost all their money. And apparently, though, they are mounting back up to do the third one now. That's what they're working on right now.
Good.
But yeah, it's a surprisingly fun and surprising twist on that kind of a movie. And it gets what Fede Alvarez doesn't get. So you have to establish the geography of that fucking house.
Yes, yeah.
You have to establish the geography. Otherwise, why would I be scared if I don't even know where this person is or isn't or whatever? You have to have like some sort of juxtaposition. Be like, okay, I know the good guys are here and I know the killer is kind of over here somewhere and he could come from this area.
Yep.
And then you can subvert that by him coming in a window in a different direction. But we'll get into it.
Yeah, there's little details in The Collector where it's just if you step on that second step on the stairwell, it's gonna creak. So like jump over it or something. Like just little things. Like it handles really well, which your average horror blockbuster film would not do or not even think about. I love that.
Well, they used to. Yeah. That used to be the norm.
Yeah. Right.
That used to be the norm because there was a thought to like, this has to make some kind of sense.
Yeah.
Like there has to be an internal logic to the movie. Mm-hmm. And people do not care about that anymore. No. You brought up Don't Breathe. I rewatched Don't Breathe the night before I went to see Alien Romulus, and it really fell flat for me, like really hard. It had been a couple years since I'd watched it. I never hated it, but I was always thought it was like just shy of being good. Mm-hmm. And this past time, it really kind of revealed. I hate to say this, but like I don't think Fede Alvarez is a very good director in a holistic way. Like he's very good at certain things. And like on paper you're like, I should like this. Yeah. And I like the way this looks. What's wrong?
Yeah.
And I think for Don't Breathe specifically it is about that that he never establishes like the layout of the house, so you never can anticipate or build tension or dread or anything. It's just everything feels so fucking random. And and it's not paced very well either.
It's almost like the technical and the creative sensibilities just come and clash with one another. They're not quite intertwined as they should be. Because I remember I still really like Don't Breathe, but I remember coming out of it thinking, who are these characters? Why did I really care about them? Or I mean, they give them very little plot details to care about.
Well, it's very cliche stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, where each character is kind of this archetype. You have like the spoiled rich kid, kind of. You have the poor girl with the heart of gold that just wants to save her sister. Yeah. And then you have kind of like her thug boyfriend or whatever. Mm-hmm. And and you don't get ever really any more out of them than that, like than the archetype that they're playing, right? They don't really have personalities per se. And because most of the movie they're just reacting to being hunted down by Slang.
Yeah.
Stephen Lang. Yeah.
Right, there you go.
Yeah. Because I tried to watch his The Girl in the Spider's Web. He did one of those Millennium movies.
Yeah. What's that series called?
Well, it's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is the first one, but the series is called Millennium, like because it's the name of the magazine that the main male character works for. And it was so bad, I just shut it off an hour in. I was like, it was like a kind of like a mediocre TV movie. That's kind of what it felt like. And I had never gotten around to it before. And I, even though I don't think like the material is all that great in those other Millennium movies, I generally like them okay.
Sure.
But yeah, I was not feeling it, and it kind of gave me a sinking feeling the night before I saw Alien Romulus. Well, at first I saw the Rotten Tomatoes meter, and I was like 97%. Oh my god, this is not going to be good. This is going to be bad. Trembling says Fede Alvarez does love a group of degenerates getting in over their heads in horrific ways. Evil Dead remake, Don't Breathe, and apparently Alien Romulus too. Yeah, to a certain degree. Like I said, he loves those thieving youths.
I was gonna quote you, by the way, like your initial spoiler-free review, the thieving millennials. Like that was, I couldn't phrase it any better. Yeah.
Well, it's just like, man, this is really just he keeps coming back to this.
Yeah.
And real quick, I rewatched Chuck Russell's 1996 film Eraser.
Okay.
And then I watched this new movie Cuckoo. I didn't really know much about it. I don't really know much about the director or anything. I know it had Hunter Schafer and Dan Stevens in it. Me and my wife watched it, and even my wife, who's kind of a more movie normie, I would say, literally like looked at me an hour and she's like, "This is fucking stupid." It's one of the worst movies I've seen this year. I thought it was pretty fucking bad. And it has a lot of the same problems a lot of these movies recently have been having. Like, there's really not a lot to them. Mm-hmm. They don't do a good job of establishing character. They have a hard time keeping a consistent tone. They have a hard time with having thematic coherence. By the end of the movie, you're just like kind of confused. You're like, what the fuck is this even about? Like, what is this really about? Like, what's the subtext of this movie? And it's kind of hard to discern outside of all of these people apparently, I think, just hate their parents. And they just make movies about how much they hate their parents. Jameson Leopold Scotch says the Dragon Tattoo books are all written like saucy beach reads. They're meant to be disposable entertainment, and I think they know that. Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. They are, and I think I like the David Fincher one, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Okay, he definitely turns it into a David Fincher movie. It's very pretentious and probably elevates it a little bit more than it needed to be.
Right.
It's not trashy enough, honestly, his version. Although, no, I take that back. The movie's pretty trashy. Apologies. It's been a long time since I've actually watched it. Trembling says, old man James Caan kicking Arnold's ass. Oh, that's my favorite part about Eraser is that James Caan is the bad guy because it's kind of a shit movie. But they got some heavies in there to like fill out the cast.
Yeah.
And it makes it fun to watch. Like, so watching James Caan just like chew scenery and be like this evil FBI agent is actually a lot of fun. And then he beats Arnold Schwarzenegger in a fist fight at the end of the movie. And the only way that Arnold gets to beat him is that he drops like a shipping container and he falls.
It's the weirdest choreography. Like, you just don't really buy it at all when you watch it.
It's so, but that's, for me, like that's the magic of that movie. That's the juice because of how the audacity of doing this makes me laugh. And Vanessa Williams is so bad. I get so much pleasure from that movie. I really do. Prof says, I heard at the end of Alien Romulus, the main character looks right at the screen and goes, "I'm gay. I know I'm gay now, and there's nothing wrong with it. You're the one who's wrong, Brat Summer." Actually, yes. This is actually exactly what happens.
Spoilers.
It's got a very antinatalist message. It actually kind of does. We'll get into it. But that's all I have for the just kind of random stuff I've been watching.
Yeah, the only other final thing I'll say is I rewatched Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf, one of our classically trained actors.
DJ Caruso's Rear Window.
Pretty much. And you know what? It's fun. You could
It's
say it's a
okay.
little trashy. You could say it's a little like
Hey,
on the nose, but I enjoyed it. You know,
Dude, it's a
on
great
the
movie
time.
for teenagers. That's
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
like little thriller for teenagers. They used to make those movies. You know, there was a time period like when I was a teenager, like a lot of shit like that came out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Things like Antitrust. Do you remember Antitrust with Ryan Philippe and Claire Filoni and Tim Robbins? I think is in that movie.
Yeah.
He's like the evil Bill Gates or something.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember as a young teen going to a nice little community center movie event for what's the movie? Stay Alive, the video game horror movie. Do you remember this one? Where if you die in the game, you die for real.
Yes, actually, vaguely, very vaguely. The one that comes to mind more is Existence, which is a different movie.
That's a little bit earlier.
That's
I mean,
earlier
I
than
guess
that.
they're kind of close, but yeah, this was like a 2005, 2006 horror movie. Frankie Muniz is in it. So it's kind of that era where it's just like
Oh shit!
kind of the end of his career a little bit, but
Can you believe that long ago was like the end of his career?
I know, right?
And he became a race car driver.
Yeah, yeah. And a drummer for a little bit, I think. Maybe he's still part of a band. I don't know, but yeah. Yeah, he's a race car
Well,
driver full time. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, he just loves the adrenaline rush. You know.
Yeah.
Tremlick says, I was watching the Red Letter Media review of Alien Romulus earlier. I had no idea they included the black goo. Their theory that producer Ridley Scott demanded that be put in makes sense. Yeah, because he's pissed that he's not making Alien Starscream or whatever his third Alien would have been. I wanted to see his third Alien, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not like while I understand that Prometheus and Alien Covenant are incredibly flawed. I don't think that they're so bad that I don't ever want to see anything from that like perspective again. A lot of people like really hate those movies, and I don't. I have a lot of they have a lot of problems, problems for sure, but like I just don't despise them. Mm-hmm. And in fact, as time has gone on, I've softened on them more and more and more as I watch them more, because you just kind of take in the themes of the story, and you can kind of have a better sense of what Ridley Scott's exploring. And he's just exploring the nature of life and death and creation and the responsibility of creators, and how there's kind of a chain of that goes from like from the creators to people to what people create, right? With the androids, there's always like 3 layers of that present. And there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, even if it doesn't all come together. And fucking Michael Fassbender, speaking of Lawrence of Arabia, he rules in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. He's awesome in those movies.
He's my favorite part, and that's what I was craving more and more. We'll get into it with Alien Romulus, but like that's what I want to see right now. You know.
Yeah, we'll talk about Alien Romulus. I'm going to read these, and then we'll just hop into that review.
Okay.
Signal Intrusion says black goo stolen from X-Files anyway. Is it though? Is it the same thing? I don't know if it's quite the same thing. It's the seed of creation, Signal. It's the seed of creation, sir. Okay, remember in Prometheus, that guy standing on the waterfall and he drinks that black goo? And he falls apart, and then his DNA goes in the water and seeds the planet. And then, human beings 1,000 years later or whatever. Trelmick says, I wanted to see the Ridley Scott third movie too. I want to see where he goes with the Luciferian David character. Yes, that's what we all wanted. But then instead we got Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus. It's what happens when they make movies for $300 million and need them to make $1 billion to be profitable. I mean, I don't understand why they go into these movies. It's like, it's a rated R genre movie. Like, I know like Alien is a franchise that's well known, but it's actually kind of niche. The people that actually like it's like kind of a niche group of people. Like, it's not as, I don't think it's as ubiquitous as people think it is.
No, of course.
Yeah. They've always been like that too. They've always been things that these movies should actually, in fairness, we're about to launch an Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus, it was like an $80 million movie.
Wow.
Which is, that's good for a movie like that. Why those movies shouldn't cost more than that, But anyways, yeah, so we're going to hop into the Alien Romulus review. We are going to be spoiling the movie, so if you guys don't want to, hear any spoilers or anything like that, just come back later. We'll be done talking about it, and we'll be spoiling Trap, and then we'll be talking about some of the best movies of the year so far.
Yeah.
But anyways, here's a little TV spot, and then we'll hop into the review.
My Annie, open the door. Annie, open the door.
What are you doing?
Can you open the door? Look at me. It's all right. I'm going to get you out. Don't look over there.
I need you to open that door right now. Come on, open the door. Why didn't you help me? What are you doing? You have to run right now.
Alien Romulus, rated R. Experience it in IMAX. Get tickets now.
Oh, that's right, everybody. We're going to be talking about Alien Romulus. The film is directed by Fede Alvarez. It came out on the 16th, like it said. I got to see it in IMAX myself. I sprung for the extra. I had to pay a surcharge, because I have the Regal Unlimited Pass. But I had to pay an extra $8 to go see it on IMAX. And, I will say this. Out of everything, I'm glad I saw it in IMAX because I thought the production design and all that stuff was actually really great. I really liked the look of the movie. It very lovingly recreates the look of the technology from that era relative to what the movies were representing. So it was just cool to see that kind of stuff. And there were some cool, awesome shots of spaceships, and they did some cool model work. And things like that were really cool to see on the big screen in that way. But
I saw it in Dolby cinema. Ooh, so I guess I got the good sound design experience. And actually, that's one thing I didn't comment on that I think is also really good is that it sounds really great. I can see why they would release it to a bunch of those limited theaters too. So, but yeah, I imagine there had to be some shots made intentional for IMAX, when you watched it, because
yes, there definitely was. Yeah,
there were some visuals where I was just like, oh, I need to see this on a bigger screen or something like that.
Yeah. So I don't know, where do we begin? So the log line of the movie is, while scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, a group of young space colonists comes face to face with the most terrifying life form in the universe. It stars Kaylee Spenny, who's kind of a new actress on the scene, David Johnson, Archie Renault, Isabella Merced, Spike Fern, and Aileen Wu. Also, Ian Holm. Spoiler alert.
Back from
Ian
the dead.
Holm. Jesus Christ. Actually, you know what his credit is? It says, because he's credited on IMDb, and it just says in parentheses, facial and vocal reference, which is so ghoulish. Because he's dead, right?
He died in 2020.
Yeah, that's what
during
I thought.
COVID.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I was, I don't know.
I make terrible dark jokes all the time, but even here I was like, God, have a little bit of class. Leave this guy alone.
Well, especially since they're dead.
Yeah, was Lance Hendrickson busy that day? You couldn't just get Bishop for a quick cameo or something?
Or how about just not have a character from Aliens or Alien
at all? Yeah.
At all. I understand what they're saying. They're trying to establish there's different models and all the models look the same. I understand that, but it's actually not the same character as the one from Alien, because obviously that guy's toast.
Yeah.
Ash, he's dead. So this new guy is just so it's kind of even more arbitrary that they're using this thing. And also, wasn't that model supposed to be retired because it was too human-like? So they, that's the whole thing about Bishop and Aliens, is that the reason why Bishop acts a little bit more, shall we say, autistic, is because they've pulled back the humanity from them so that people could tell the difference, and so that people could disengage from them and not trust them, etc. There's actually a built-in reason for why they changed it. So even though this, I think they said this takes place 15 years after Alien. I think that's what it said, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because there was a little bit of a text scroll, but I can't remember all the explanation for it. I know it takes place in between the two, but
yeah,
I couldn't get a full grasp on the timeline. That's why when I first saw Ash, even though it's a different android, I was a little thrown off, thinking wait, did they just go to the Nostromo again?
Well, that's I thought that for a second too, because you see the body's cut in half and it's hanging out, and you're like, are you fucking serious? Yeah. Oh, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you, motherfucker, though. Dude, I was sitting. I had just sat down in the theater. I was there like 10 minutes early. I pulled out my phone. I opened Twitter. Whose tweet do I see first, Jeremy?
Hopefully not mine.
It was yours. It was yours. It was the fucking picture of Ian Holm. I was just like, this motherfucker.
You know what? And this is the one time I'm going to just be that motherfucker because I never do that in the theater. But this was the one case where I'm like, come the fuck on. I just pulled my phone out, grabbed a screenshot. Like, why are they doing this shit?
Yeah.
Well,
let's kind of take it back to the beginning a little bit. So we got this new young cast of characters, these they're Gen Zers. They're not millennials. They're Gen Z hipster people. That are like the coolest, hippest mining colonists in the entire colony, as far as I understand. Caney Spenny's character is like, apparently you can like kind of work your way off of these mining colonies. They all work for Weyland-Yutani, which is a retcon because Weyland-Yutani was not a thing until they built out the lore. But whatever. And then it's kind of a dumb scene. Like I had a little trepidation even from the beginning because she goes up to like get her punch card, essentially being like her permission, her papers to be let off the colony. And then some fat old lady who just gives her a mean look and like presses a button and it like doubles the amount of hours she needs. They're like, you got a 7-year extension. And they don't, and they're like, yeah, we got a work shortage. Sorry, lady. Yeah, I actually thought you could have lost that whole sequence. Why couldn't it have been that just like it just sucks to be on the mining colony and they just want to get off? Like
Right.
I guess they were just trying to make her seem more virtuous, like she's the good person, like that's the downtrodden hero a little bit. And then after that, she has like an adopted brother that is revealed to be the new android character. Which I don't remember the name of him. Oh, Andy.
Andy.
That's right.
Yeah,
Andy by David Johnson, who is really good in the movie. I will say this. Out of all the characters, out of all the performances, I think Kaylee Spaney as Rain and David Johnson as Andy were definitely by and far, like by a country mile, like the standouts of the movie. Yep. I wish desperately they had better material to work with because there's a lot of things to like about the movie. Like there's a lot of things about especially its like production design and its cinematography, and there's lots of cool shit in there. But the characters, like the set pieces and what ends up developing in the plot is just really, really dude, it's like a fan film. It's so full of fan service that you're just like, holy shit.
No, that was I didn't mention that in my review for it initially, but it is full on. It does feel like fan fiction. At the end of the day, It doesn't even feel like something that because it can't ever justify its existence. You can take it or leave it. You can get through the whole Alien franchise without this movie, and it would not affect it at all. That's the way it's on display, and I'm like you. I think the concept is great, and I think there's a lot of things that they could have had fun with and had a lot to work with, but they waste it all in that after that first third, and I was just and I don't know. I just came out just so disappointed. Like this is the best you can do. Like you have you have all the makings. You have all the parts there. Like. Why is this hard to do?
Well, because you have that first 20 minutes where you're like, okay, this might be interesting because it's showing you a perspective of this world that you've never seen. You've never really spent a lot of time with normal people in this franchise, right? They're always, I guess you know what? I'm wrong. We have, because that's the first movie. They're literally just blue collar workers. They're literally just salvagers.
Yeah.
So I take that back. Jesus. But they're at least professionals, though. They're like competent professionals. They're out there doing their stuff, right? But we've never really spent any time with, I guess, people that live just kind of on planet being one of these colonists out there in space. And there's an interesting aspect to it where they're just like, and it's kind of an interesting thing they touch on, but it's just there to be like, these greedy corporations, because that's the focus of a lot of these movies. Sure. A lot of dystopian sci-fi. Is that people are basically not able to colonize in space. They cannot handle it. So the impetus for them to do all this shit with the xenomorphs actually has to do with them wanting to like engineer a being that can handle space colonization. Like go to these planets and mine, like a slave race, kind of like, Blade Runner 2049. When you find out that's like kind of what the replicants are made for, is to be slaves, to go off world and work in mines and blah, blah, blah. They kind of have a similar perspective on this. They want to create this new species to do that. At least that's what this movie is kind of primarily dealing with. And it doesn't really go into that very much at all. It's just kind of said a few times by Ian Holm's character. He kind of, because it's so clunky that they just spell everything out. They just have like, he just has like villain monologues.
He has an agenda. Dude, yeah.
It was like it was like a video game. It has the structure of a video game, like where you feel like you're going through levels and you have to go complete a task and run to this side of the ship and then go do this. And then Ian Holm appears on like a little TV screen to taunt you.
It was definitely reminding me of some aspects of that, like the game like quality, because it was Alien Isolation was one of the first games I got for my PS4, and it was harkening back to that a little bit. I was thinking about just like the analog quality of the set design and things, and bringing back those actors and whatnot. And here it's like they really doubled down. And okay, so I know I was like dunking on a lot of the Ian Holm stuff. He looks fine and he's pretty convincing in the video transmissions. They just didn't need him to be on screen.
Well, they did
CGI,
they did like a face swap.
Yeah.
So they had an actor there.
Yes, yeah.
And they did a face swap. It looks like an Instagram filter, or not like a TikTok filter or something.
Sure. Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminded me of, because you could almost see the edges around where the real face is and where the Ian Holmes face was, and it didn't always match up. It was kind of weird sometimes. At least or unless I was just seeing things, I was being like hypercritical or something like that. But I don't think so. But yeah, Fede Alvarez actually said in an interview that Alien Isolation was a big inspiration for him, wanting to go back to the analog nature of these movies, because in essence it's kind of a period piece, even though it's like a futuristic movie, but it's the 1977 version of what they thought the future was going to be. So it goes back to that aesthetic. And but I feel like maybe that's what's going on with this generation of filmmakers. Is it video game brain? Is like that how they conceive like stories, especially adventure stories? You know what I mean?
I have to assume so, and maybe not just like video game brain, but like just trendy YouTube video brain as well. Like we're getting that Backrooms movie coming very soon by A24.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another example of just like everybody's just so entranced with these like very, very vague, high concept sort of visuals and things like that, and they just have nostalgia. And they want to keep you in the shadows and not like tell you everything, keep it a mystery. But that's the trend right now. I mean, you even saw it with Skinamarink last year, too. Like that's definitely an example of a movie that not only did well because of like TikTok marketing, but people are flocking back to that analog look and style and feel. And
well, because everybody's kind of aesthetic obsessed, right? Even Fede Alvarez himself, like he's good at recreating things that he likes from other things.
Yeah.
And I feel like we get that a lot, but there's not a lot of there. There's nothing beneath that. It's like, yes, you have like a facsimile of the thing that you like, but there's nothing to it. It's very shallow and empty and hollow. And I would say that Alien Romulus definitely suffers from that. I was kind of struggling. I'm like, what is this about? Like, what are the themes here? Like, what are the themes? Like, the themes of the old movies, they all kind of have distinct themes, right? And one of the cool things about the Alien franchise in general, whether you like the movies or not, each movie kind of has its own vibe, has its own feel. Like, the first one is like a haunted house movie. The second one's like a military movie, but it's got the theme of motherhood and maternal instincts and kind of, it's kind of like girl boss. Yeah, that'll get you through. Like, the third one is about acceptance of death. and life and the consequences of your life and whether or not you want to continue on in this journey. The fourth one is about literally about resurrection, about meddling with science and playing God, etc.
Sure.
And then obviously we talked about Prometheus and Covenant, which are kind of about just the nature of creation and the responsibility of that. And this one, I'm not sure what the fuck it's about. It's like I said, I think I wrote in my little letterbox review that it's basically a gorgeous looking but lifeless fan film that exists to be a meta commentary on how cool Fede Alvarez thinks the Alien franchise is. Millennials need to be excised from writers' rooms. But that's kind of what it felt like. It's like Fede Alvarez clearly really is a big fan of Alien. Alien. Just like the Aliens, probably more than Alien. Mm-hmm. But he just likes the world. He's a fan of it, just kind of like we all are. But he doesn't seem like he had much of a story to tell. Like anything other than doing kind of a broad general pastiche of every Alien movie. Like there are aspects and nods to literally every Alien movie.
Sure.
I mean, like the end of the movie is the end of Alien Resurrection. Mm-hmm. And also the end of Alien at the same time.
You know, it's like you kind of mentioned in your early reviews that like it's missing those themes of just agency and survival, motherhood even, and things like that, because they fill it with like they give it all these like different little plot points. Like there's a character that's pregnant. But that doesn't go anywhere really. It just like turns into more fodder for the characters.
Well, it doesn't play into the movie at all. Like other than being a plot mechanic, when it shouldn't have that been like a big thing,
right?
Like,
or something.
We got a fucking pregnant lady here, dude.
We got to save the baby or something.
We got to save. We got to save the baby. We should care about her. Like, and apparently I didn't know this, but I was watching somebody talk about it earlier today. And did you know that the main character and then the guy that lives the longest, other than Andy, are supposed to be dating?
No, I just thought they knew each other, and that was it. Like they were.
Well, because that was one of my critiques. I'm like, these are all like young 20-somethings, and there's like nobody has like a crush on somebody or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like you have to give these people like an internal life, like something to do other than just the goal of the plot.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of lifeless caricatures that are there that are just very surface level cardboard cutouts, and they're there to be dispatched essentially.
Yeah. That's the first 30 minutes of Alien, essentially. I mean, with some plot elements already thrown in, but like you just see these characters just hang out and do stuff and work
and be coworkers and joke with each other and have lunch, and they have lunch and they make crude jokes, and one of them rolls their eyes at one of them, and
yeah. And then when you meet the military. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. No.
It also establishes the geography of the ship, the Nostromo.
Right.
They literally do that, and if you listen to the audio commentary, Ridley Scott specifically talks about that, how important it was for people to know the layout of the ship.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
No. Like to that point, there needed to be a scene if you're gonna bring back like the acid blood and address that again. Like, there's no scene where you see the layers of the ship of how much that acid can like spread to each layer. The way that the original Alien addressed and cared about.
Well, because in this movie they use it as just a plot mechanic so that it does whatever it needs to do for the plot.
Yeah.
Like, because suddenly the acid is just like goes fucking straight through stuff, right? It just burns it straight through. But if you were to go watch the original one, it's not quite like that. It's like it's a little more realistic, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But now we've gone so far down the line, these fucking xenomorphs pop out in 5 minutes. They're fully grown xenomorphs, which is incredible.
That's the other thing. Like, it's so fast how they grow up and start like breeding and spreading like wildfire. Like it used to take time. Even Aliens kind of understood that a little bit,
Yes. Well, that's part of the horror, is the process of being used as a fucking vessel for one of these xenomorphs. That's a horrific experience, and we spend a lot of time in the old movies kind of dealing with the horrors of that. Yeah. Especially in the first two, right?
Right.
Like, it's kind of a big part of the movie. And the Aliens is able to up the stakes because they introduce a little girl. So we get to do it all again with the danger and the threat of that happening to a little girl, which just makes it feel fresh again.
Yeah.
This one, it's just like checking off a box. Like, well, this is an alien movie, and this happens, and this is an alien movie that takes place at this time period, so we need to have this in there and this in there. Not motivated by anything. Like, there's no internal logic to why anything is there.
Yeah.
Like, they have the room with all of the hanging bodies, like that hallway they go into towards the end of the movie, right before they get into the elevator shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no queen on the ship. The queen is the one that puts them up there so it can lay the eggs in front of it. That's why that happens.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's just there.
It's just there. It's
just there.
To make you remember, oh, yeah, that thing happened in that movie at one point or another. Remember this callback? Remember that line of dialogue?
Dude.
Now this character's saying it. Yeah.
They had Andy say, "Get away from her, you bitch," for no reason. It comes out of fucking nowhere.
And it's not natural either.
This character, no, exactly. This character would never say that.
Yeah.
Especially not like turn around and smile. like as if he's acknowledging that he just said the cool line from Aliens.
Yeah.
And also, like, there was a reason why she said that. It's not just some random thing. Ripley is like this girl's adopted mother. The alien queen is there. These are her children that Ripley is fucking mowing down with a flamethrower. That's why it's like a personal thing between two moms. It's like two Karens fighting at the park,
Right.
Like, did you fucking yell at my daughter, bitch? Like, that's kind of what that scene is. And in here, it was just like, okay, sure. After kind of just like, and that was another thing about the set pieces, especially towards the end of the movie, where they just felt like so like video gamey, lifeless, like almost like kind of uninspired. Like the whole sequence where they have like the zero gravity sequence and they have all the acid blood floating and they have to like, maneuver through it. Like on paper, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, but it's also just like, they don't really do that in alien movies. It's not really what these movies are like. They're not big action roller coaster rides. Even the ones that are not like that.
Yeah.
That's
where the realism like really goes out the window too. Like, how can you even avoid things like projectiles like that anyway? It's just it started getting too absurd at a certain point.
Hey, dude. Well, she's a tiny girl, so she could really kind of maneuver through there.
Yeah, I guess so.
While she's wearing her vintage Ripley-styled Reeboks.
Yeah, right.
It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, every callback. It's just like, are we doing this again?
Dude, they do. They lifted entire. I mean, and I understand because they're just leaning into the fan service so much. I mean, obviously they did this stuff intentionally, thinking that most people will think it's really cool if they just see shots that are exactly like the old movies. And I think, from what the general consensus is out there, this seems like people are kind of just liking the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, are things this bad? Things are just so bleak out there that this is the one that people are like finally desperate for something to not be awful. Because I could say this, I don't despise this movie. It's like not, it's so insubstantial and it's going to wash over you and then you're probably going to forget about it. Like, it's not very memorable of an experience, honestly. I mean, maybe because of some of the cringe stuff, you might remember some of that, but I don't know.
Sure, and that's the major. I mean, I'm like you. I don't like utterly despise it or anything like that, but it does have that horror community factor here, where it's just like, we're just gonna overpraise everything now, even if the quality of the film is not up to par or doing anything unique, different, or original. I mean, because you're seeing, like 82%, 80% audience and reviews and critic scores left and right, or Letterboxd is just like screaming the praises for this film, and I'm just like, what? Do you guys actually like this movie, or you like the idea of it? That's where I'm starting to. I think
you nailed it. I think they like the idea of it.
Okay.
They like the idea of an alien movie for them.
Yeah.
Because it has the same problems that most modern movies that these same people praise. Like it has similar problems to something like Longlegs and Maxine and where they're just really undercooked and really kind of like cliche ridden and so derivative that it has no personality of its own, and it just makes the movie feel anonymous and forgettable and pointless. Like it doesn't feel like it justifies its own existence, which may be a weird thing to say about a piece of art, but I think for something like Alien Romulus, because it's a big studio franchise things, I think it does have to justify its existence. Like, why do we have to just keep making Alien movies just because?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, why do we have to keep making Alien movies? Like, there's lots of movies that have been made that there's not endless amounts of sequels to that haven't been franchised into the ground.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it takes like even like a seasoned director like Ridley Scott. You know, whatever you feel about his later work with the franchise, you know, at least he is, like we were talking about earlier, going for something and trying to tell something different. You know, trying to like justify like these newer ideas, philosophy, religion, science, everything, you know.
Because he took the mysterious aspects of his original movie, like the space jockey,
right?
The stuff with the androids, kind of exploring the nature of those things and creating those things, like to get to where the civilization was in his original film.
Yeah.
And he uses that as a backdrop basically to explore themes, I think, because he's an older man. Like, and he's facing death.
Yeah.
Like, death is not that far away from Ridley Scott anymore. And he knows that. And I think he was using those movies to explore those themes.
And I think that's why a lot of these newer filmmakers, they're so scared to want to explore any of those things, like ever. Like they just want to play the safe route and they just want to appease.
Yeah,
but I don't say like a younger crowd. You know, they don't have any like fight in the game, really. You know,
I also think that they just might be shallow people. I think the generation of millennial filmmaker is like upper middle class kids that grew up just watching movies. And then kind of transitioned into like having an artist's life.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's not a lot of life experience and things that are, at least things that are relatable to people. They don't understand why these things are necessary for stories. And also just the postmodern moment. I think a lot of these people have gone through, you know, obviously school, etc., where I think a lot of that stuff is just seeded into their thinking. Like, oh no, everything has to be a deconstruction and I can't just follow the roadmap. I have to do something else, which ends up fundamentally breaking their stories.
Yeah.
Because they're not taking the time and the care with the characters. The characters it's a weird thing. Like they will claim that they really love their characters, but their movies are just really about the plot. Like their characters are almost like background decorations for a lot of these things, just so they can like get across like some facsimile of something that they like. Ty West is like this. I think we're far enough into his film career where that is becoming very clear.
Sure.
Fede Alvarez is like this. He's got he wants to return to these nasty splash gore, grindhousey type feeling movies, but he's trying to elevate them with studio budgets, right?
Sure.
But they just don't have like anything to say.
Yeah. Even, you know, and not to get like too political here, but like it feels like even with like casting wise, like they're just like doing these like quintessential like DEI sort of like casting hires, you know, whatnot. Okay, and look, I don't even care because like
me neither.
For me it's more like I want like just a really good solid character. You have this like Asian woman who's got her head shaved and whatnot. Maybe she's non-binary. I don't know like what her character's all about. That's the whole thing. Is like there's nothing to her at all in this movie.
No, exactly. Like you don't even know anything about them.
Yeah.
Anything. Like, and it just like this is what, and we talk about this all the time, like how much I like business.
Right.
Because business informs character. If I can watch somebody doing something, I'm learning something about them without having to be told about them.
Yes.
Just the way they carry themselves or the kind of book that they're reading or something. Instead, what happens is you go into a room and we meet all of the main characters and they just have a conversation where everybody just waits for their turn to talk.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah, they're
Okay?
almost like on the verge of like raising their hand so that like can I say something? Yeah.
Seriously. Like there's no life to it. It's just
Yeah,
there for exposition. It's just there to set up. But like, and that's the real skill, I think, of a good filmmaker, a good storyteller, is somebody that knows how to marry those two things. How do I marry like exposition, plot stuff with character? And I think the problem with something like Alien Romulus in a lot of movies is that they don't start with character first. They start with this plot idea first, because character should inform everything that happens after.
Yeah.
But that we don't see that very often, and that's definitely not in Alien Romulus. It's just not.
No, they needed a Harry Dean Stanton smoking.
They
chain
did.
Smoking
No, they,
and,
dude, they seriously, they did.
Yeah.
They need shit like that. They needed like a gruff old man that to be part of the crew.
Yeah, yeah.
Like why not? Just to add some dynamics, some drama, because these are all young kids. He could fucking be annoyed with them. He
Yeah.
could fucking hate them, or maybe he has his own motives, etc. I mean, even the thing with Andy, the android, right? So part of the way through the movie, Andy basically becomes an evil android.
Yes.
But they didn't even have like the gumption to stick with that. Like everybody has to be happy, feel good, best friends by the end of it again. Like, so there wasn't even any like stakes or real betrayal. Like even the fact that they're going to leave him behind, he can't go to whatever this planet is that they're going that's outside of the Weyland-Yutani system that they're going to go to be free. He can't even go there. And that's never really even brought up as a thing for his character to be conflicted about.
Oh, how much better would the script have been if Andy is like the twist turnaround main antagonist? At least take that risk, you know.
Or if they want him to be the bat, or if they want him to have redemption, he needed to redeem himself and not have the main girl do it.
Yeah.
Like, because they have this thing where he constantly needs to be rebooted, which happens like 5 times in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's like all the time. He needs to be rebooted. But he should have figured out how to do that himself at the end and took out the disc himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there should have been that dilemma with the character. Like, this is what I know. I care about this person, etc. But I also have this other thing, and also they're kind of going to betray me. But there's never any conflict like that, you know? There's none of that. There's none of that there. Like, they put the setup for it there, and then don't do anything with it. It's just like with the pregnant woman. The setup's there to do something with that, and then they use it as a plot thing for the end of the movie. But in between all that space, this doesn't matter.
It's disposable. Yeah.
It's not part of like their tension or their what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Was there any sequences that you actually did like or anything like that in the movie?
I thought the stuff with the face huggers in the middle portion was okay. The part where they have to be like extra quiet, I suppose, and not get their attention as they're sneaking by them.
Yeah.
I hadn't really seen that done before, and I thought the face huggers themselves, like, there was a little CGI, but generally in most places it was practical. I thought they looked great. They're about like as animated as they were in Aliens, if not a little bit more. But
they're a little bit more for sure. A little bit more.
Yeah. But I enjoyed that stuff.
I thought that scene in a vacuum was kind of cool. It's clever. Like, oh, we got to raise the temperature to be the same as our body temperature, and then 20 seconds into that scene, they start talking on their walkie-talkies and stuff, and you're like, I thought that whole sequence was gonna be like the whole middle of the movie.
Yeah,
I thought the middle of the movie was going to be them going from one side of the ship to the other.
Right.
But it's not at all what it is. It's like a very brief sequence.
And it's such a Fede Alvarez thing, too. It was reminding me of Don't Breathe, too, like when he turns out the lights and they can't see where he's going, but he's like, even though he's blind, he's doing like Stephen Lang is doing just fine, like scoping around and like trying to catch him, you know.
I acted like a shark in that movie.
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, I like that stuff. The facehugger stuff I thought looked really good, but there's something about, like, it's like a sequelitis thing where they're like, well, let's just give you more. And there's like 50,000 facehuggers. It's like more scary when there's like 2 of them and you're just like locked in a room. Mm-hmm. Like, that's way scarier to me.
Yeah.
Because there's almost like this thing where it's like, well, if a guy's just fucking hitting facehuggers like this constantly, just hitting him with a baseball bat type or his little shocker thing.
Yeah.
It's just it stops. It's exciting adventure movie stuff, but it's not like horror movie stuff. There's no dread. It's like a fun sequence. It's not like a terrifying sequence, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, again, and this is why like it pretends like it's trying to go back to basics, like those original Alien films. But then you go back to Aliens, and even that whole sequence when the rain is like spurting down, and it's Ripley and Newt facing off against like two of those face huggers. Like that scene is still so dramatic and so well done, and so down to earth and realistic compared to anything in this movie. You know?
Oh, no, exactly. But that's what I mean. Like there's real there's personal stakes. It's very easy to put yourself in that situation. Like I said, just like in the beauty of the construction of that scene is it's so perfectly paced and cut together.
Yeah.
Because it starts with you just think there's the first one and Ripley's there dealing with it, and then they realize there's another one, and they have to kind of simultaneously deal with both of these things at the same time as the scene kind of builds.
Yeah.
It has like a flow and a pace to it. It's like its own little mini movie. It's its own little mini sequence.
Sure.
And people don't know how to do that anymore.
Yeah.
They don't. They just don't.
Well, and it gets a lot, you know, and that's the beauty of it too. It gets a lot of people. I'm not a parent myself, but like that parental instinct or that maternal instinct that brings out a lot in like people that are those actual figures in real life. When they see that and they want to protect that and they want to stop the villain, and you don't get any of that here. You just see a bunch of just like, just millennial kids, just like.
Well, I would say they're Gen Z. They're Gen Z kids that are just kind of reacting. They're just reacting to xenomorphs. And
I think they even drop
stuff.
a line like a couple times. So like they don't know what they're doing, and they openly admit that. I'm like, well, yeah.
Well, I could accept that, but if they were just given like if any of them were clever at all,
yeah.
Like, are they all retarded? Like, are they all idiots?
Yeah.
Like, give me something. Like, and that's really the crux of it, I think, for me, was just like, it is such a shallow experience.
Yeah.
That you really just kind of feel, I walked out of the theater just being like, ambivalent. Like, I was just like, I don't even know. I just didn't give a shit. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
All right, but before we leave, though, we would be remiss if we don't talk about the ending sequence. And then I'm going to catch up with the chat, everybody. I've been watching and reading your chats, so I just haven't said them. And we'll respond to some of the stuff you guys said once we wrap up here. We got to talk about the ending sequence. So the ending sequence, if you guys don't know, I guess it might have been Ridley Scott's, like, wanted them to do this. They bring in the Prometheus black goo, which this scientific spaceship, they've basically figured out how to reverse engineer it, essentially.
Yeah.
And this goes into the whole plot line of them wanting to kind of make this new species to be like a slave class, or at least that seems to be the implication. So the pregnant girl has to inject herself with the black goo so that Andy, the evil robot, will save her, because he's become full-blown company man once he put Ian Holmes' disc inside of him. And that's his new prime directive. Like, he's got to save the goo. So the pregnant girl injects herself with this fucking mystery space goo. And, well, wouldn't you know it, guys? That baby inside of her gets turned into some sort of weird alien creature somehow. These movies also used to have, like, the most base level of, like, grounded scientific reality, especially when it came to physiology and shit like that. That's all gone. That's all gone now. We don't even care about that kind of shit anymore. We used to kind of understand how it worked, because that's what made it scary. The idea of like having somebody plant an egg inside of you and fucking rip out of your chest or grow inside of you. Here it's like,
no, there's no breathing room. We got to keep up with the pace here. We got to keep moving.
Dude, she injects the goo within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
She's birthing an egg vagina that births a engineer human xenomorph hybrid that grows to be about 8 feet tall within 2 minutes of being born. It's being born. It's born in this little egg thing, and then a baby comes out of it, and then it scampers away. And then Kaylee Spaney's character is like looking through, because they're like down in the cargo area. I don't know if that stuff's supposed to be fuel or whatever it is. All the it's like a, what do you call it? It's like sand, ground up coal or something like that.
Yeah, some sedimentary kind of.
Yeah, and you see like the footsteps getting bigger and bigger. It's like so silly. It's dude, I started laughing out loud, and I didn't realize how hard I laughed because the guy that was like 3-4 seats away from me just like shot me with this dirty look. And I was just like, dude, what the fuck? Who cares? Shut up. Are you really, man? Like this is it for you, buddy? You really into this? But anyways, that's his right.
Oh, can I mention real quick too? Like in my mostly unpacked theater, this was in Dolby, and there was not a lot of people.
There's probably about 15 or 20 people in the theater. That was about it.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I groaned, I scoffed, I laughed, I made all the kinds of reactions. I probably pissed off some people. Don't really care. Yeah.
But yeah, so what did you think about the end, just in general? I mean, like, because it really goes off the rails. It's basically everything post the elevator shaft scene, like, completely goes off the rails. It's like from that sequence forward, the movie is just like in cartoon land.
Yeah. Well, that's what it started just getting too cartoonish by the end. I don't have a problem with the design of that final creature. I think that's what they were trying to like hide and build up to. But it's nothing like surprising or impressive. That was where I kind of just came out of it, where, I mean, we're just, okay, you want to be in a universe. This might be like a Ridley Scott note or something like that, but there's nothing fascinating or scary or cool about this at all. Like, it's just, I don't know.
It just didn't feel like it made much sense.
No.
I mean, I don't know. And also it is directly, like, I'm not even shitting you guys. Like, it's very close to the end of Alien Resurrection. Like, it's a very similar sequence where it's like this thing that is kind of like knows that the girl's like his mother, and there's like a part with that, and then there's obviously Kaylee Spenny gets in a spacesuit slowly as she's looking at it and blows a hole to fucking throw it out into space.
Yeah. Like, how many times are we gonna still do the shaft sequence where they get blown back out?
She said, I think she says, "Die, motherfucker." Is that her big line?
Something.
I think she just says, she's like, "Now you die, motherfucker." Like, because it got so silly at that point, I just completely had checked out. I was just like, this is just, I don't know. And it's like, I don't mind silly things. I don't even mind campy stuff. It just didn't work. Like, just end of the day, just did not work. Even if I were to give them credit, be like, hey man, you really took a chance here. Try to do something weird. Mm-hmm. But it was like weird for the sake of being weird, which makes it feel just empty, just kind of pointless.
Yeah. I just do something, like, I don't even, at this point, like, just bring Predator back. Do something fun and goofy and hokey at this point. I don't care.
They got it. If this movie does well, I bet you there'll be like an Alien v Predator. That'll come back.
I'm sure.
It'll come back. I mean, that Prey movie, that's another movie that I don't like that everybody likes.
Oh, same.
Yeah, it was kind of, because it's like exactly like this. You're like, what is this for, like 15-year-old girls? But anyways, I bet you they do. Although I have no idea how well this is doing. Like I said, my theater, I mean, I went to see a 9:30 IMAX showing. Mm-hmm. IMAX is more expensive. It was a little later. So maybe that was the factor there, but I don't know. I don't know what people are out there. It seems like everybody's seeing it though, so I don't know.
I mean, the fans are rising up for it. Even new fans, I guess, people that have not seen many. Well, I think
a lot of new people that aren't really into Alien or only kind of know it in passing are enjoying this movie a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to pick up on the same things that annoy us so much. They're not even going to know that that's what that is.
Right.
I would actually like to talk to somebody who's like never seen an Alien movie and then watch this and see what they thought of it.
Yeah.
Like, would it work as like a tight little thriller, like a little action thriller? I don't know. I don't think it would, in my opinion. But
I think we would still have some of the issues that we've already expressed here with it if we just watched it on its own terms and there was no other Alien context beforehand. But Yeah, that would be an interesting experiment. Just to pick someone's brain on. Sure.
For sure. Because it's a pretty briskly paced movie, but it doesn't do a good job with like escalation or when we were getting towards the end of the movie, I didn't realize we were like at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because of the way that things were happening or unfolding, like generally there's just like a general natural sense of escalation. Like we're headed towards the end. We're heading towards some sort of culmination of everything that's happening. And it just like nobody acts like they are there's much urgency to anything. Like they just feel like they have all the time in the world
Yeah.
to do whatever they're doing. And I just found that kind of odd. Because really, when I was like, oh wow, we're at the end of the movie. I like looked at my watch and I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
we only got like 20 minutes left. Holy shit! Because it doesn't feel like it's building upon anything. It's not setting things up and paying them off other than alien stuff. Like,
Yeah, and I think that's also, and that's a problem with a lot of horror movies this year and last year, is that there's just this instantaneous nature to them right now. A real severe lack of suspense. I mean, if you even like go back to Ridley Scott's Alien 2, the last 20 minutes, like it takes its time when you realize the xenomorph is still on the ship with Ripley. It's a good 10 minutes before she like fully like slips into the suit to like stop it.
Because it's building that tension. It's building the scene. It has layers to it, right?
Yeah,
like it's a little mini movie in and of itself.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
No.
It's crazy. Like that's filmmaking. Like that's what's the art of filmmaking, is doing shit like that. Not just trying to rush through your cool shit so I can fit as much cool shit as I can.
And it's good horror. You stupid horror fans, come on.
I guess we might talk about this later. It's just like it's the Terrifier problem.
Yeah.
It's that crowd of people that like, oh, Terrifier is the coolest fucking movie ever. You're just like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's got cool effects, cool practical effects, but it's not a good movie. Are we really going to be pretending like it's a good, even for what it is, it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's catch up with the chat, and then we'll probably close things down for our Alien Romulus talk. Trelling says, I wouldn't mind another AVP if they just do the original comic storyline like they should have back in 2004. I don't. You know what? I've never read those old comics, but I think I have heard that before, though. And they didn't even use the video game plotline. They did a completely separate thing, which is full of alien lore. Weyland-Yutani, fucking Lance Henriksen's back. We find out that Bishop was modeled after one of the founders of Weyland-Yutani. You're like, oh, okay.
Right.
Trembling Color says, too many facehuggers is the same reason the Xenos weren't as scary in Aliens as the single one in Alien. If there are a lot, they always feel like they need to have character kills, kill some of them. Yes, 100%. But what Aliens did, though, was gave you a new one that was like a singular focus and was a problem. We never knew about the Queen aliens, and she's over there laying eggs and shit like that. That was the escalation of that, right?
And they do a good job in that movie as well, because there was only about like 5 or 6 of them suited up in that film, to make it seem like there were a lot of them. Like the scope was like handled really well in that movie.
Yeah, and they actually in Romulus they directly lift a shot from Aliens, which is the one where they're all crawling.
Yeah.
Yep. There's that shot was in there. I was like Leonardo DiCaprio in that meme. I'm like, oh
yeah,
I know that. Trembling says there's a weird thing with the awful modern horror fans where they love horror but hate tension and suspense. They're all medicated for anxiety and shit. Actually, dude, that's a great observation.
Yes.
Because I think you're correct. Like, they just want the visceral stuff. They don't want any of the art. They don't want the things that make those things effective. They just want the cool shit because of their neurotic, anxiety-ridden brains. Trembling also says, sounds like Lily Cat even had better characters. Lily Cat is an anime that we watched like about a month ago that is a combination of Alien and The Thing. And it's like a 70-minute little anime. And yes, it does have better characters than the characters in Romulus. Signal Intrusion says, it sounds like a bad sign that Event Horizon has more characterization. It does. And that's one of the flaws of Event Horizon is there's not enough. Yeah. Like it does, it's so, dude, Event Horizon is so close to being there.
Yes.
And
yeah.
it needs 20 more minutes
Right.
of character stuff, and then go back to the original ending.
Yeah. Exactly.
It would be really great. Trelling says, this movie is what people were pissed the Ridley Scott movies weren't. People on average are nostalgia coomers. No lies detected, dude. Yeah, because that's exactly right. Alien Covenant is Ridley Scott's compromise. Because Ridley Scott wanted to do, no, I want to do the David movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, the studio's like, no, dude, this is a fucking Alien movie. We're not going to give you $1 billion to make the David movie. You need to put fucking xenomorphs in there, and they need to kill people and hunt people down. And he's like, all right, fine. So it's like this weird mishmash hodge. Because Prometheus is probably more coherent, because it's a unique vision. It's a new kind of take on this material in this world. And then in Covenant, he's trying to make a sequel to Prometheus while also meeting studio demands to be you got to have killer xenomorphs in there, dude. Tremley also says modern people don't understand love, affection, or friendship in real life.
That's
so
a big
why should
problem.
they in fiction?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you're right, and I think that goes to what I was kind of saying about millennial filmmakers. I think a lot of them suffer from that. James Leopold Scott says they kind of allude to a previous relationship between Rain and actor guy. Yeah, they say that they were kind of together or not, and they just allude to it and then do nothing with it. I guess you could infer that that's why he has kind of a loyalty to her. That's why he's looking out for her. But you know what? Even if he wasn't dating her and he was just a good guy, he would have done the same thing. It's a detail that does not factor in really. Single Intrusion says Fetch Quest and Analog Horror Brain. Yes, I think that's when I was talking about how it felt like a video game. Single Intrusion says, were there any nods to Alien Isolation? It seems everything else made it in. I don't know if there was direct nods to it. There might have been. I might have missed that. If there was, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, some of the tech looked similar, but that's about it. I mean, I can't really speak. I can see how Fede Alvarez was definitely inspired by that to create this, but...
Oh, 100%. Yeah, for sure. Trembling says, remember when characters used to not be heroic from the beginning and the events of the movie bring out their heroism? Now the hero, especially female, has to be a shining beacon of virtue from the jump. Yeah, that's true. That character has no personal dilemma to overcome. She doesn't grow as a character. She's the same person she was at the beginning of the movie as she is at the end of the movie. She's not getting over something. Like we could go back and talk about Aliens. What is Ripley going through in Aliens? She woke up 70 years after she had left initially, and all of her family and friends are dead, including her daughter, and she's mourning the loss of her life. And she meets this orphan girl, Newt, and subsumes that, and that's part of her healing process, her catharsis. There's nothing like that in this movie at all.
And they could have made the attempt to build on something, her relationship with Andy, better. That would have been something, and they don't really go...
Well, they should have had some dynamics to it, especially once Andy realizes that he's going to be left behind. That should have been such a huge thing, because that could have been the thing with him and the evil Ian Holmes, hey man, self-preservation, it's a thing. Yo, put my disc in you. Put my disc in you, brother. I'll save you.
One brother to another.
Yeah. Trembling says, I'm surprised they didn't just make the main girl be Amanda Ripley from the Alien Isolation game. Nostalgia Bukaki, the audience. Honestly, I think that I guarantee you that there is an Alien Isolation the movie script out there. I guarantee you that was definitely pitched at one time. And probably if that game had been more successful, it probably would have happened. But like I said, Alien's kind of a niche property. It just doesn't do big numbers. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe Alien Romulus will prove us all wrong. I mean, even Ridley Scott making Prometheus and Alien Covenant couldn't make $1 billion. He couldn't do it. James Leopold Scott says Ian Holm was so unnecessary. And he also said none of the androids stood out. None of the actors stood out for me except for the android. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I did think the main actress was, for what she was given to do, okay. She was okay. Although all the women looked like they were 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
They all look very young.
Well, that's the thing we're seeing right now because this is Kaylee Spaney. They're trying to prop her up as the next Anya Taylor-Joy up and coming actress right now. She was in
Civil
War and Priscilla and things like that. She needs a few more films under her belt to be this figure right now. So she's not bad, like you said, but there's nothing standout-ish about her really.
No, she should have been the pregnant girl. And they should have had somebody that was maybe Anya Taylor-Joy should have been the main character. Sure, why not?
I would even say someone I know, going back to Prometheus, the Noomi Rapace character, she is much more of a standout and has some more agency compared to any character in this movie.
And I think Noomi Rapace is just more of an interesting presence.
Yeah.
It's just something more interesting, even just listening to her and watching her.
Of course,
she feels very specific. She doesn't feel kind of kind of generic. That's most of the cast felt kind of anonymous and generic.
Mm-hmm.
They could have had anybody play these characters, and it doesn't matter. None of them made it their own. You know what I mean?
No.
Trembling asked, "How is the score?" I don't remember it at all, actually. I saw that you asked that earlier, and I was thinking in my head, I'm I can't remember a single sting or anything. I assume that they used some of the Alien music. But I can't remember for the life of me, dude.
Yeah, they don't even have the score listed on Letterboxd. That's the. Oh no, okay, no, they do the composer. Benjamin Wallfish did the score, but I couldn't tell you
Let's see, what else has he done?
Yeah.
He did Blade Runner 2049. He did it.
Yeah.
As a composer, yeah. He did the Flash. He was the conductor for the Flash. Well, there you go. Previous work. Twisters.
There you go.
Another one of my summer movie favorites.
One of my favorite soundtracks.
Yes, yeah. Oh, dude, you're in the Goo Goo Dolls? Oh, no, you mean the bad Twisters movie. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he composed the score for The Flash, 13 Lives, Mortal Kombat. Oh, this is WB have him locked up. He did It Chapter 2. He did the most recent Hellboy.
Okay.
Oh, he also did Serenity.
That is a movie. I have seen Serenity when that came out.
That's a weird ass movie, dude.
That is one of the weird what the fuck kind of Hollywood ideas are they just throwing out there? And that's one to talk about. I think.
Actually, yeah, we'll definitely cover that. It might even be fun to do a watch and talk with that one,
right?
Because it's so absurd.
Yeah.
And with the twist, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This is the end of Saint Elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wild one. That's a wild ass movie. Okay, and just cleaning things up here. Trembling also said, Alien is like Mad Max, where the internet and pop culture references have made people think they are bigger than they are. Yeah, 100%. And then James Leopold Scott says, only 6 other people in my screening today. Everyone seemed to be there because it was an Alien film, though. I agree. It's kind of niche. Yeah. Let me see. Oh, and then Trembling says, he's barely better than Silence than as a composer. Just barely. Just barely. I mean, maybe an open room sound might be better, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? He's out there. He's hustling. He's being asked to do these things. I wonder if you feel like you've made it, you fulfilled something in your life. You're like, I got to the top of the mountain. I'm in the movie business, and then you end up getting trapped doing the most generic, lifeless, uninspired shit. And that ends up being your life. That's probably not very pleasant. So, I got your back, Bill. Or no, I'm sorry, Benjamin Wallfish.
Yeah.
I got your back. I hope things turn around for you.
Keep hustling, dude.
All right. Well, without further ado, you want to talk about Trap for a little bit?
Yeah, let's get in Trap.
All right, everybody. I got a little TV spot for you. Then we're going to talk about M. Night Shyamalan's Trap.
You know the butcher that goes around chopping people up? This whole concert? It's a trap.
Dad, hurry! Come on!
Wait.
From M. Night Shyamalan, the master of suspense.
There's no way out of here.
Hey, when this is over, can we go out the back?
What's going on, Dad?
Somebody help me!
Rupert, you're not okay.
Trap, rated PG-13, August 2nd.
Well, that's right, everybody. We're going to be talking about 2024's Trap. The film is directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It stars Josh Hartnett, Ariel Donahue, Salika Shyamalan, Allison Pill, Haley Mills, Jonathan Langdon, and others. The logline plot synopsis is: a father and his teen daughter attend a pop concert only to realize they've entered the center of a dark and sinister event. Well, that's very vague. Much vaguer than the trailer. The trailer just tells you.
Yeah.
So I did like a little review of this right after I saw it, and I've thought about it a lot more, so I'll have a little bit more to say. But I haven't heard of your thoughts about this movie. Now, explain to us how do you feel about M. Night Shyamalan in general? Like, you're a fan, right? Like you
I've always been a fan
to kind of like his stuff,
of M.
yeah.
Night. Yeah. Even when he misses, he swings a lot and misses. I see a lot of like autistic potential, I think, in what he's doing.
I gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta keep rooting for the guy because he loves doing like these like high concept, low budget films in a realm that is just like so totally out of his element. His worst film is still The Last Airbender, in my opinion.
Yes.
That was the first time like he something big scale and he just could not pull it off and never could since.
Yeah, it's kind of like Kevin Smith. Like if they're not working with their own material,
right,
making their kind of movies, whether you like them or not, like they just but relative to them, they just don't work.
Yeah,
like they need to have it needs to be like an auteur's kind of situation. Sure.
Yeah. And that's something I've always appreciated. Like he has a voice, he definitely has a vision, he definitely has a presence. I mean, even physically when he's cameoing in his movies too. But I would say like definitely growing up as a kid, like watching his earlier films, like that was in many ways very inspiring. The same way with a lot of these other auteurs. Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, was a big one for me as well. But a lot of these guys just coming from very just normal backgrounds and jumping into the mix of things and making stuff that's just different or just like pushing the boundary a little bit. Now I will say in hindsight, like when I do break down a lot of M. Night's movies more and more, there are things where I do notice the problems and it's kind of reflective because I notice those problems in my own writing, my own work. Half the time too, so there is kind of a relationship there. I don't know the guy, but I'm just saying like
no, but you have a relationship with his art. You have a relationship with what he makes. Yeah.
But like there's just always like a moment or two where he's just able to like it clicks and he captures just like that. I think what he does the best, and even in Trap to some extent, is he finds levity and humor, and even like tragedy and sadness in like the darkest scenarios or plots that he writes.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is hard to do, and he finds a way to do that. I wonder if like even if it like contributes a little bit to just like how he is as a father and as a husband these days too, because I think he has a lot of these familial fears that he wants to tell on screen, but but he's like a very just normal average Joe father and husband, so.
he's a yuppie. He's a yuppie.
Yeah.
I've come to terms with he's a yuppie.
Yeah. So I've always liked his personable quality in person.
Sure.
Even if it comes off weird on screen with his characters, but
see, I've always really liked his style, like the idiosyncrasies of his style, because while he is definitely pulling from other people, obviously he wears his influences on his sleeve, I think, especially, I mean, this was very early on in his career. Everybody said, oh, this is the next Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why, because it's got a very Hitchcock vibe to what he does.
Sure.
And even some of the themes he explores, etc. I could see Alfred Hitchcock making a version of Trap, 100%.
Oh yeah. I could see De Palma making a version of Trap.
Actually, which is the guy that ripped off Hitchcock before M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Calm down, everybody. People get really bent out of shape when you do that. They're like, how could you say that about De Palma? I like De Palma. Trust me. I think it's okay. I think it's a good thing. If you're going to steal from the best. But yeah, I could actually, yes, De Palma would be the guy. Yeah, he would have fucking killed this movie. Well, maybe back in the day. I guess Snake Eyes is a little trap-esque.
Yeah, a little bit.
So yeah, I've always kind of appreciated him for his idiosyncrasies. I kind of agree with you where it's like even his misses are interesting. And they miss for interesting reasons. And I would say even Trap has that same, because Trap is a miss for me.
Yeah.
But I understand why he made some of the decisions that he made. I just I feel like the good version of his movie is actually in his movie, and he decided to go in a different direction because he sets out the themes like you had kind of recognized. This is dealing with his fears of being a bad father because of his job. He feels like I wasn't around enough. I wasn't at events. I wasn't supportive enough, etc. And the movie has like this meta layer of that, which is even more meta because he cast his daughter in a kind of significant role, which in my opinion is kind of derails the movie. I think it was a giant mistake to have that character play the role that she does in this movie. That's one of my first big problems with it because of the themes that what it's about and the twist that happens at the end of the movie. And yes, we are spoiling the movie. I'm just going to say that right up front. We're just going to talk openly about it. You find out that it's his wife that was suspicious of him and that sets up, which is crazy to think that she set up an event where her daughter is going to be with her serial killer father. And like, what do you like? That's not safe. That's obviously bad parenting, bad parent move.
Yeah.
But it should have been the daughter should have played the role that the pop star played. It should have been a cat and mouse game between him and his family. Mm-hmm. And trying to keep up this facade and keep that lie going of their perfect idyllic life while also being the butcher. You know, like, and because they sets up all the stuff at the concert where he's constantly leaving. His daughter's mentioning it to him. Why are you leaving so much, etc. I kind of wish that she was the one that kind of figured that something weird was going on.
Sure.
Rather than offloading that to kind of somewhat of a third leg character that ends up just being very important for about 20 minutes of the movie. Because suddenly she just has like a big part.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, I thought there was going to be a lot more cat and mouse stuff between him and the FBI. Because every single time an obstacle is presented to him, he almost immediately resolves it. So the movie never gives any time to be worried or tense or anything. Like he gets like the secret passcode, ends up stumbling upon the card that he needs to pull out of a wallet. Dude, that all happens in 10 minutes. That whole sequence of him finding it out to being confronted is 10 minutes, and then it's never brought up again.
Sure, yeah.
So it's just things like that where I was just like, oh, like this is not that clever. And I think he was doing that because he wanted to say like, oh, this is a really smart guy. Like he's a very cunning, crafty person. Like nothing stops him. He always finds his way through, etc. Right. And then trying to bring it to a point where he wasn't going to be able to. So he has to kind of expose himself and do something desperate. But I don't think some of it just didn't work super well for me. Although I thought Josh Hartnett was great.
Oh yeah, he was terrific in this. In fact, most of the acting is actually really good, even out of M. Night's daughter. Two big issues that I certainly had with it. Even though I was entertained by it enough, not great. It definitely like even hits like happening levels at points. I would say in terms of just the logic.
Yep. I would say the happening is better.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. It's been a while. M. Night's daughter. I know we're in the age of nepotism and things like that in every movie right now. Whatever. She should have just been a background pop singer character.
Yes.
She shouldn't have had a role, anything that would like to this level, you know.
Well, because dude, they set up in the movie what she, because his Josh Hartnett's daughter gets brought on stage as like the dreamer girl, the special
Yeah.
dreamer girl for the show. And he has to lie and say that she just got over cancer, etc. Well, what if being a dreamer girl meant you were a sick kid and everybody knew that at the concert and her friends were there that she's having a problem with and they expose her? Like they set up this conflict with the mother of her friends that they're all having this interpersonal drama like teenage girls are, and then they just don't do anything with it. Because that's what I thought was going to happen. I'm like, oh, she's going to go upstage and the friends are going to see her and they're going to call out that she's not supposed to be a dreamer girl and they're going to go tell somebody and that's going to create the next cycle of problems. And that never happens. It's not a factor. It just doesn't matter.
Nope.
Which I thought was so strange.
Yeah.
And I'm a father. I'm a parent. If I were to ever be in M. Night Shyamalan's shoes, would I put my kid in a movie if he wanted to be an actor? Yes, I would. I would.
Sure.
100%. I don't care about the nepotism thing. It's expected.
Yeah,
Listen,
of course. Yeah.
It should be expected in almost every industry, and that's a good thing because it actually keeps those industries moving. And people that have like a legacy working in the environment, etc. But he kind of gave her a role that I think people are going to not like her for.
Yeah. They're going to
She's a self-righteous, indignant pop star that literally goes to the house of the person that she saves through the dumbest shit I've ever seen and gives him a hug while the police are coming. And I'm like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
That whole sequence, like it derailed the entire movie for me. Cause I think it has a great first act and a great like last 10 minutes.
Sure.
That's kind of where I was vibing with the movie. And that kind of told me the movie that I feel like I should have been watching. Should have been about like his family more directly.
Well, and
the meta commentary would still be the same. The meta commentary of him being concerned as a parent and a father that he wasn't there for his kids is still the same if he just utilizes the actual family in the fucking movie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and this is the other thing. I wish they brought the whole family unit to the concert and not bringing it back to the home or to some other location. This was sold on us being like a concert heist escape kind of movie.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
You know, and I wish they just stuck to that. Maybe there's M. Night's little twists, like, oh, we're gonna take it back to the home or whatever. But no, it's.
Well, it would have been okay if it was like kind of the last 10 minutes when he escapes the first time and he shows back up and his wife drugs him. Like that stuff was fine because that could all happen post the concert, right? He could have escaped at the concert.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. If the whole family had been there and then it's about him versus his family.
Yeah.
Him trying to keep up the facade. He's got this guy locked up in a house. The walls are closing in. His wife is already suspicious and has kind of set this in motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been
because
that would have been great.
They introduce Alison Pill as the wife and the son like way too late. It's I don't know what these characters are really all about or why I should care about their safety or what's really going on. I mean, it gets revealed by the end, but it's just there's not enough time devoted to them.
No,
if anything,
there's not.
It's just the father-daughter angle, and that's fine if you wanted to go with that, but it doesn't.
But he doesn't develop that relationship in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. It loses interest in it, like by
because
the end. Yeah,
it's fucking. Well, listen, like I said, he gave. I don't know if he gave his daughter this part out of the meta commentary that he is actually guilty. He feels guilty because there's a lot of concert footage.
Yeah,
like a lot. I was kind of shocked. And some of it is just like literally watching her perform songs. Like it's not like sometimes other things aren't happening.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one scene where it's like the floor raises up and he's like, oh, I could get out under there. And that scene actually made me laugh because that is very like a dad talking to his kid thing. Oh, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
You want to go check that out? They're like, shut up, Dad. No, I don't want to do that. You know? Yeah, but I was so bummed.
Sure.
It was more of a frustrating experience because I could just see the potential because I love the way he shot it. Mm-hmm. I like the look of the movie. Josh Hartnett was so game.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The energy was there. It's the same cinematographer who did all of Luca Guadagnino's movies recently. Challengers.
Challengers, yeah.
And they shot this on film, I think, too.
Yeah, and there's those big, beautiful like close-ups and and some like I like the first act is great. Like I loved all the setup and everything that was happening, and I was settling in for the rest of the movie, and then it kind of just goes in a weird direction. And maybe that was, his intention. It's M. Night Shyamalan. He does like to subvert your expectations. But it subverted it in a way that I did not love.
Right.
Unfortunately, because there was just there's a lot to like about the movie, and it sucks that it's kind of stuck in maybe his most muddled mess in a while.
Well,
in my opinion.
How would you compare this to like some of his recent efforts? Because like I like to look at M. Night's filmography in like different eras, and we're now in the era of I want to say I guess The Visit or Split, that kind of like tipped off this new sort of like form where like he's more self-aware, but still like struggles with certain elements.
I think The Visit and Split are their own era.
Okay.
And then I think because then he had his studio era, which is like The Last Airbender, and then After Earth.
Yeah.
Or is that what it's called? Is it called After Earth? I think it is.
Yeah.
And then he has is Glass to Trap. Like the Glass. What did he? Was it Old after that? And then
Knock at the Cabin.
Knock at the Cabin, and now Trap. They all feel kind of a similar vibe. Mm-hmm. And they all have kind of similar problems. Where there's just like something of like missing or something. I don't know. Or they're just too hokey. Like Old is like a very goofy movie, and I kind of enjoy it because of how goofy it is.
Yeah, same.
That's one of his weirder, like that has some of the weirder M. Night Shyamalan performances I've ever seen. Like,
yeah,
like they are not like human beings.
Even his extended cameo in that movie, like at first I was joking in the theater thinking like, oh, he's probably just like spying on them up on that mountain or whatnot. And like, oh, actually he is doing that. Yeah. I was, as it was building along, I'm like,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how do you think it holds up to the rest of some of his older movies? Cause I would say this is about on par with something like, I was going to say Glass, but I think Glass is better than this.
I think Glass is better. Yeah.
Because I think Glass's subversion worked for me in a way that it didn't work for a lot of people. I was actually okay with the mental institution stuff.
Sure.
I think the last 10 minutes are dumb. I'm not going to, I don't think there's a way to get around that. It's very hokey. It's very earnest, but it's very M. Night Shyamalan, so you kind of forgive it.
Yeah.
Because if he communicates anything well, it's a sense of earnestness and sincerity. Like his characters kind of embody that a lot, especially you go back to something like, Unbreakable, especially. Like there's a real like earnestness there. There's a yearning there.
He does,
but this one felt very artificial. It felt the most like kind of staged and mannered.
Once it gets to like the last like third of it, or at least once they like leave the concert, that's when it starts getting very stagey and hokey and a little too much. I will say though, and this is something I also admire about M. Night, is that he does bring out a different kind of performance in these like classically trained actors that you wouldn't see in another movie. Mm-hmm. He brings out something really cool in Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes.
In Bruce Willis, in Samuel L. Jackson. I think that you just don't see typically. And
he knew how to cast. Like there are certain actors that just kind of vibe with his material and the way he writes and the way he does dialogue, right? Like there's just, and that's Tarantino has that as well. Like, right. Sure. There's just some actors that they can just work better with that kind of dialogue. Mm-hmm. And he's really great at like his secondary performer casting, like all of the people that he populates the movies, where he always finds interesting faces and people with interesting kind of vocal tics or cadences, etc., that can deliver his dialogue very well. I can't remember the actor or the character's name, but the big fat black guy that's selling the T-shirts and stuff, that's a great Shyamalan character.
He's great.
That is a Shyamalan ass character. Yeah. He's there to give exposition and be happy and move the plot along a little bit, and he's got that big close up. He gets to kind of introduce everything. That's good Shyamalan stuff.
Yeah, good.
Actually, because I loved the movie up until shortly after that. Like it was basically once he gets like confronted by the police when he goes up like to the roof, and then he just gets through that. Then I thought the movie kind of started like meandering, like kind of just didn't feel like it had a lot of go because we had to stop and watch his daughter sing. Like
Also,
so it just kind of stops the movie in its tracks.
Yeah. Also, this butcher character doesn't have like the most like, at least on screen, doesn't have the most violent impulses. Like the most he does is like he pushes one woman down a flight of stairs. He burns another woman with like the fryers in the kitchen and whatnot.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do very much, and he definitely still has like a heart of gold for his daughter in some weird way. And that's like the two like realities.
Which is supposed to be the
Yeah.
two realities. He's got this monster inside of him, but he's also a good dad. He's
Exactly,
also he's completely unhinged, but he's also a pretty good dad.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know?
He's not all
I love.
bad. Yeah.
This is another M. Night Shyamalan thing that actually really tickled me, and I really loved it. Is that he cast Haley Mills just because she was in a movie called The Parent Trap.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. That's the only reason. Because I like Haley Mills is fine, and she's fine in this movie.
Sure.
But she's also not like who I would think of as like an FBI, like a criminal psychologist profiler, like this very, although I guess which makes it kind of work in a certain way. But it just made me laugh because I was like, that's the only reason she's in this movie. But hey, good for Haley Mills.
Yeah, good for her. I mean, she was good in it, but she also still feels like a non-player character in it. Like, there's just not enough with her.
I thought there was going to be way more of that dynamic.
Yeah.
Like of her getting like, obviously not directly because the movie is pretty much locked into his POV, except when they cheat, when M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's in the movie. They cheat. They start pulling the POV away from him, and then we start seeing things through her perspective for like 20 minutes. It's just it's just weird. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We shouldn't be too hard on her. She's got a movie coming out soon too, and we got to be as respectful as we can for the Shyamalan family.
She's not the same one that directed The Watchers, is she?
Oh, maybe
No.
I'm getting mixed up with maybe his other daughter.
That's pretty racist, dude.
Hold up here.
Hold on a second. All right, while you're looking that up, I'm going to read this chat here. Trembling says, which is the secret MVP of The Happening? Talks too much about hot dogs guy or lady accusing Wahlberg of eyeing her lemon drink and planning to kill her. Probably the lady with the lemon drink. Yeah, because John Leguizamo can get no credit here.
Yeah. I do have here, it is in fact Ishana Night Shyamalan, I am a racist, and I should go to hell.
Oh, man. Yes, it's over, guys. Sorry. We have to get off stream, and I have to have a very serious conversation with Jeremy about our future together.
Yeah.
Signal Intrusion says, the idea that people should strike out on their own to dodge nepotism is a fantasy. I worked at a med school, and doctors' kids made up a good chunk of the classes. Yeah, because that's where you derive that passion from. It's from watching your parents. That's where you learn about it. You're going to have a more intimate awareness of what the actual job is and why it might appeal to you than somebody who doesn't have a parent that's a doctor. It's just the way it goes. Like your kids they're little sponges. Everything you do, everything you say, they want to be a part of. They think it's cool just because you're doing it, and that's how it starts, So yeah, nepotism is just a natural extension. It's just a very human thing to do. And so I give him a pass. I understood like as a father why he made some of these decisions, but I think he ruined his own movie.
Sure.
By being a good dad.
Well, and that thing also happens through siblings too, it passes down, my brother would not be into half the movies I like if I hadn't introduced him to them or, done the kind of artistic stuff that I've done with my siblings. So
100%. Like my brother Dan is really into a lot of the same music and bands that I am, because when I was growing up, I used to have a giant like CD book. Mm-hmm. And when when I kind of wasn't around and I moved out and stuff like that, I left it behind, and he found it, and he started listening to all the music. So then he kind of developed an affinity for it. Who's your secret MVP? You got a secret MVP of Trap?
We didn't even do that for Alien Romulus, but there really wasn't enough characters to really say.
To be for a secret MVP, it's kind of tough. I guess maybe.
For me, it's probably Kid Cudi. He's in this movie. He's got like a brief cameo as the other artist. He's the one snaps at the one lady. He's like, "Oh, you didn't give me my kombucha, bitch," or something like that.
Yes, that's right. The sassy guy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I thought he was for his couple scenes. He was pretty funny. That would probably be mine. Yeah. I don't really follow his music that closely, but I recognized him. So.
I don't think I've ever heard a single Kid Cudi song. I can't even say his name right.
Yeah.
Who's my secret MVP? Drunk Asian girl that gets pushed down the stairs.
There you go. Yeah.
And Alien Romulus, I like. Who could be the secret MVP? There's no like bit players. It's all very utility driven.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know.
The people that were beating up Andy at the beginning.
Yeah, those little Spanish kids. They're all speaking. They're all yelling Spanish at him.
Yeah.
I was like, Fetty, come on, dude.
This is like you're going against your yeah.
You're going against the tribe, buddy. Yeah. These are your people. What are you doing? They're beating up an autistic black man. Actually, one of my notes, because I actually took notes for Alien Romulus in the theater, I said neurodivergent androids laugh out loud. It's 2024. Because that character is a stand-in for the Gen Z group of being because that's always been a thing with the androids too, is that they're a little off, they're a little different, and now they've just literalized it and made it something so that
sure,
the young Gen Z audience can be like, oh my god, he's so much like me. I'm just like Andy.
Yeah,
aren't I just like Andy? Oh my god, you're just like Andy.
They give you the new chip to put in your brain, and then you're like, oh, now I got a different.
He literally stands around and goes, I'm like, you're a fucking android. What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah. But anyways, we already talked about that movie.
Oh, I would say my other little secret MVP is I thought M. Night's cameo was fine. It was very normal, very like middling, but like. He's that throwaway line like, "Oh yeah, that's my niece, by the way," on stage.
Yes, it was a very M. Night thing to do.
Yeah.
He came off. I think he gave a little bit of performance. He came off a little gay.
Oh sure.
You're gonna be one of Lady Raven's dreamer girls.
Sparkle.
Would you
motion.
like that?
Yeah.
Would you like that?
Yeah.
So easy to get on stage. You just go and that's also goes into some of the things with the movies where it just gets like kind of too contrived for its own good.
Yeah.
Like this is the plan that he was going to try to get his daughter on stage so they could leave through the back. That's a 1 in a million shot, dude. Like everybody wants to be Dreamer Girl.
I was joking with my friend who also watched it yeah, his daughter is having the time of her life. And then like all this crazy stuff goes down like in the middle of the night. Like, oh, my dad's actually a killer and he's getting arrested. Like, what's going on?
Oh, darn it.
Darn it. Yeah.
I hope that this gets rolled into the Shyamalaniverse and we get to see the Butcher versus the Beast.
Hey, yeah.
Is the Beast still alive or did he die at the end of Glass? I can't even remember.
He did. He died. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We could do an interquel between Split and Glass where the Butcher's there. Okay.
Yeah. There were some hints that this was in the same universe as those three movies, because Judge Hartnett has like some like cunning and like crazy like physical abilities. Like I guess he gets tased and he's like gouges out that one guy's eyes. By the end.
I saw a little bit of that. I mean, but you could literally just do that.
You could just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like dude, like. People don't get knocked down from being tased all the time, and he's like a hulking, super strong, like guy. Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Hartnett's like a big dude.
Yeah.
Like he's not like a 5'6" little shrimpy dude. I think he's like 6'2", and he looks like he's about 220 pounds.
Sure.
and he's like built. You know, he's a fireman in this movie, guys.
Yeah.
He's strong. But it could be, listen, like if they want to do like I don't know what they would do for the next chapter of the Unbreakable saga, but I guess you'd have to have his son. We'd have to get Anna Taylor-Joy in there.
Yep.
Then we could get Josh Hartnett in there because obviously he's going to get away. Maybe they have to hunt down the Butcher. This is what they do now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. But, you know, I don't know. I'm definitely going to watch it again.
Oh,
because that's the thing with M. Night Shyamalan movies. It's like even when I don't like them, like there's something about them that I do enjoy on some level, even if it's just to be frustrated by them. Although, you know, and I feel that, although I did not feel that way about A Knock at the Cabin. I saw it once and I was kind of like, yeah, that's good. I'm good with that. I never felt like a real strong draw to go back to that one.
I also watched his Servant series on Apple TV Plus, which I thought was actually, I probably brought it up here on the show before, but I thought was pretty good. He was only like a producer and he directed a couple episodes.
Yeah, he did like a 2 episodes per season or something.
Yeah, and I ended up liking that okay. It's very much him in a sort of way, but I think, yeah, he's now in this like new accepted era where people are just maybe a little too much are accepting of like a lot of his faults or his problems in some of his writing.
Because it's kind of like the way we kind of perceive it in some way too, where it's like, well, that's the Shyamalan thing. And and you just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
Like, because Shyamalan movies kind of have to be judged on the Shyamalan scale.
Sure.
Especially post The Village.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's, you know, I don't know.
I just can't, like, for me, you know, as much as I admire him and, like, the work he puts out, I still can't, like, idolize a filmmaker who has that kind of power or whatever you want to call it, I guess, where people just are just instantly very forgiving of it because it's just Shyamalan doing his thing. I'm like, yeah, but once in a while you got to say, like, somebody should have stepped in and said, like, no, this doesn't work, you know.
Well, dude, like when I kind of had that feeling when I walked out of it. I was like, who let this script get this far?
Yeah,
with these problems.
Yeah.
Like at some point, like you said, like he needs a good friend. Like he needs to be like, yo, M. Night. No, this is stupid. This doesn't work.
Real with you. This doesn't work. Yeah.
This doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like you got a great idea. This is a great concept.
Yeah.
Because it is. It's a great, fun concept. I just wish they had done something with that stuff. Like I wanted more in the concert, like more in the arena of like things actually happening. Like just more interesting things, more like interesting hurdles for him to have to get over.
Yeah. I mean, they were even building up on all these different secret passages and ways, like all these different like alternative routes that Josh Hartnett could have taken if he needed to make his getaway, or like there was so much potential there. And then they just kind of just breeze by it in that last third. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm willing to give it another shot. Give it a fair shake. Actually, Trembling makes a good point here. He says, quote unquote, that's just Breen doing his thing. You're right. That's what people say about Neil Breen. Neil Breen is kind of like a shitty M. Night Shyamalan, you know?
Yeah.
Because he's got the same kind of, you know, he's got his auteurist shit where it's like there's a particular style of dialogue, there's a particular style of performances, he has a particular way of shooting everything, you know? He's got his stamp too. If I ever meet M. Night Shyamalan, I'm going to tell him that. But like, you know, you kind of remind me of Neil Breen. That's a compliment.
Yeah, M. Night should have a cameo in his next movie where he's just throwing around a bunch of laptops and just like losing his mind.
Dude, he should just take the script for that movie and redo it.
Yeah.
With Neil Breen, starring Neil Breen. Yeah. Somebody's got to put Breen in something real.
Yes.
Well, actually, no, I take that back. You know what, Neil? I apologize. Your movies are real. I would just want to see him in a mainstream movie. You know?
Put him in one of those one of those mainstream Disney films and see how people respond.
Trembling says, I wish Shyamalan ended all of his movies with genocidal rage too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be Neil Breen's note to M. Night. Like, don't you think we should kill everybody because of the evil? Because of the evil in the world? Don't you think everybody should just die? These people aren't worth saving. But yeah. What did you think of the end of the movie? What did you think of like the way that the twist, if you will, in the way that it actually? Because we talked about what happens. We didn't talk about if we liked it or not in the movie itself.
Oh, it's total. The very very ending, even the ending shot, it's total Hitchcock energy. Like he's smiling in the camera, pretty much like the way Norman Bates does.
Yeah, it's just.
But
exactly.
it's done way more in a subtle manner and not like shot for shot or anything too over the top. But I liked that. I thought the ending was fine. The confrontation with his wife, who I guess the big twist is that like she set that all up. I would have preferred it was with his daughter because that's the relationship that we had known that for most of that runtime. I don't know how they would have done that, but
she would have had to basically play the lady, not actually be the pop star, but functionally be the one that kind of realizes, or he has to come clean to her to get out of there.
Yeah, right.
And that creates this conflict, and that's not what they did.
No, yeah.
So, which is kind of crazy when you think about what the movie's actually about, that they didn't do that, because M. Night was too, I guess, maybe tickled by the meta layer of that this is about him and his daughter, that he literally wanted to put his daughter in it, and she literally gets to kind of save the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of the character's daughter, that, it just seems like that would make more sense. I don't know.
Saves the day via live stream as well, like we're doing here right now.
Just right. Exactly, everybody. Yeah. Oh my God, everybody. I need your help right now. I need your help, everybody. Come on, my detectives. Come on, my shining stars.
Yeah.
She
was about to be a regular old Emmy Joy for her.
She kind of was a little bit, yeah. No, I mean, I like the confrontation with his wife just fine. I just wish that it had been like built up to in a way that like was kind of foreshadowed more directly, because it's not at all. Because it seems like that's the heart of the movie. That's kind of the crux of it, because there's this parallel. It's not just about fathers and their children and whether or not you're there for them. It's also about your relationship with your wife. Mm-hmm. And what does it mean to be in a relationship? What does it mean to communicate? Like, what if you do have this secret life? But I do really love the joy that Josh Hartnett obviously took in being able to just become, when the character is kind of unburdened by the facade, and he just kind of turns into a fun, almost like slasher villain.
Yeah.
For like the last 10 minutes, the last 5 minutes or so, when he's like shows up in the police, he's like, he gets in a police costume and, he's escapes the police at the end, or at least it's implied that he does.
Sure.
Which is a great moment. It's a great little like movie moment.
I mean, we needed another shot of how he gets out of that limousine, because I understand that like once M. Night's daughter like gets out of the car and distracts everybody, like we needed like one scene to see like show him like dodge rolling under the car and then like getting out like in disguise or something like that, because it didn't make any sense how like he wouldn't have
he just
been
appears
caught
in
that
the
moment.
Yeah, he just appears in the crowd with the merch.
Yeah.
I'm like, he was in full like kitted up like riot gear shit just like 2 seconds ago, and now he's just wearing a hoodie.
Yeah.
He was able to just blend into the crowd. Well, I guess that's his magic. That's his superpower.
Yep. That's why
Like
he's
I
in
tell
that
you,
universe. Yeah.
Dude, he probably... I would love it if he was, honestly.
Sure.
I want to see this character return. I do want to see the Butcher return. I do.
Yeah.
So if this movie did anything, it made me want to see Josh Hartnett play that character again, because I thought it was actually a very fun character. And watching him in like dealing with some of the domestic stuff, like when he's at the concert and he's confronted by his daughter's friend's mother, and she's just being this like crazy Karen lady.
Yeah.
I felt that in such a deep, profound way, because you have to keep your shit together while this person is just being a maniac.
Yeah.
And you just have to sit there and smile and try to like suggest some sort of reasonable solution while they're just like spurging out.
Yeah.
I felt that so deep in my bones. That's why I kind of wish that it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that those characters mattered because it's set up like they do, and then they just don't.
Yeah, it's like there's no payoff, but those are like those good little pocket-sized examples of what M. Night is so good at. You know, you
exactly.
Could probably
100%.
put it in any of his movies, you know, and it's just like, oh, and then they missed the last end of it.
Well, exactly. He didn't. There's no follow through with it.
Yeah.
Like establishing all this shit and then not really doing anything with it. I've just found it kind of. I mean, I understand because it's like the red herring thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, but man. Just would have made a lot more sense if you just kind of didn't do that. We should have found a better red herring.
Yeah.
Because when we did a trailer watch of it, and we were like, oh, what do you think the twist is going to be? And we thought it was like, oh, well, there's going to be another serial killer that's not him that's in the theater.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, maybe it's the pop star or something like weird like that. No, nothing like that.
Yeah, not even two competing serial killers, like seeing how many kills they can get. They get their kill counts in there.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah, so I was just kind of I don't know. I was definitely very underwhelmed by it, and I really just kind of frustrated by it and wish it was just more coherent because I could see what he's trying to do, and that's what's frustrating. You see what he's doing, and you watch him fail at doing it. And that's very frustrating as an audience member. But, you know, I've seen the general consensus is fairly positive on the movie, though. Seems like people are enjoying it. So what do I know?
Yeah. We're probably dead wrong on all of our opinions on this. So
exactly. You come and tell me, you neurodivergent kings and queens out there. On Letterboxd, it's got a 2.92. Okay. So it's...
All right.
It's, I guess, pretty reasonable. That's fair. It definitely has its fans, but most people are giving it about 3 stars. That's the highest.
Yeah. I think
that makes sense.
I think I'm just slightly more forgiving of it than you are, and even maybe some of our circles right now. And I say this just like, oh, yeah, maybe I'm just a little more autistic than I think I am, and that's just why I enjoy and entertained by a lot of it. But
sure,
you know, but in talking about it, I can say like there's so many like layered problems like on top of one another that, you know, have to be dissected, and I do think this is worth a rewatch, like you said.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like we had said earlier, like whether or not even when he fails in an interesting way. There's something to think about. Like we've actually had kind of an interesting conversation about the nature of subtext and meta narratives and like how it can work and how it doesn't work. And this is a movie, I think, that I understand what he's trying to do, and he just not getting there.
Yeah.
And and a lot of that has to do with, like, for me, it was the way he involved his daughter, the pop star.
Yep.
That, to me, I just did not like. I didn't buy it, essentially.
Yeah.
If they had resolved that stuff differently and the movie was still kind of the same, I would have liked it more. If somebody else had, like, I just didn't like just the pop star thing just rubbed me the wrong way. And that she had to be like the most virtuous, the nicest, the most understanding, the most like empathetic pop star that has ever fucking existed. She's just like it's like how pop stars present themselves to the public, but they're really not like that.
Mm-hmm.
But she's really like that. She's really one of the good ones. Yeah.
She gets it. She's real with the people. Yeah.
She's real with exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
I was, getting anxiety a little bit, just like the crowd sensation of it, a little bit. Like I would never survive in a crowd of like Taylor Swift fans, for instance.
Oh no,
that would be a nightmare. My anxiety would go through the roof. I feel.
Dude, so would mine. So would mine. I don't even have like intense social anxiety, but I have enough where I would like. I just don't like even want to be around shit like that. I'm just like, no,
get me out of here.
No, like anytime you have to go to like these group giant public places where there's tons of people. Mm-hmm. Like a couple years ago, we took my son Foster to go see Jurassic World live.
Yeah.
They was playing it like in a city a couple hours from us, so we went and made like a day of it and stayed in a hotel and had fun. And people people are like, people are just so fucking rude in public and just careless, and they don't give a fuck. There's no etiquette. They'll just walk right into your kid and not give a fuck. Like, I'm like, how are you supposed to survive something without punching somebody in the face?
Oh,
like I can't go to these things because I'm gonna get arrested. That's why I can't go to these things.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill somebody someday. Like, I'm gonna become the Butcher. Like, that's gonna be my origin story of becoming the Butcher, is going to that goddamn Jurassic World Live thing. And it's adults too. It's the adults. It's not even the kids. It's the adults at the kids show acting like complete fucking assholes, and you're just like, Jesus Christ.
Because at least the kids are acting like kids, but the adults, it's like, what are you guys doing?
What are you doing? This is why your kids are awful, because you're awful.
Yeah.
Trummick says, the Butcher kills Unbreakable in the nursing home. Shyamalan going truly tasteless. Yeah, that'd be awesome. You bring Bruce shot one more movie, guys.
Yeah.
Trembling says, like the pop star at the end of Taken that gives the daughter singing lessons. Yeah, kind of.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Except worse. Except worse. But yes, that's like one of those like Luc Besson, like French creep touches that he does. It's a very Luc Besson thing to have something kind of hokey like that.
Yeah. Yeah. His whole like sex trafficking movie, and then like, oh, by the end we got this like cute funsy thing. You get to learn some piano lessons.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what the fuck?
And everybody's together and they're all laughing and drinking coffee again.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's really all I got to say about Trap. I mean, I unfortunately was just disappointed, and I really wanted to like it. I was in the bag for it. Like, even same thing with Alien Romulus. Like, went into that movie wanting to like it. I don't want to like just watch movies I dislike and talk about them. It's fucking awful. And this summer has been so demoralizing. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and especially those trailers that we covered for them both. Like, we were very kind to them. I would think we were very excited and curious to see what they can pull off. And it's like you said, it's been disappointment after disappointment. And I don't want to be that old man critic who's just saying like, oh, it all sucks now. But like, there's what are people really bringing to the table right now? It's not a whole lot.
Dude, I seriously, and I know I harp on this a lot, but I think the current crop of filmmakers, many of them, not all of them, obviously, many of them just fundamentally do not understand how to tell stories. Like, there's something that is fundamentally broken with all of them. And they all have like these single tracks that are just about like getting to the end of the plot. Yeah. And there's not a lot of character building or world building that's very effective. And also, most of the characters that you're asked to follow are like the worst human beings on the planet now. Everybody's just a piece of shit, like just a selfish asshole.
Yeah.
In a lot of these movies. And it's just like there's a myopicness to it. And I just don't like it. Sorry.
No, yeah, there's, this isn't nothing new I've said before already, but it is this new prose of like an entitled narcissism that I'm noticing more and more in like 9 out of 10 films that come out. Like, once in a while you'll get something that's a little bit more genuine and not going in that direction, but yeah, the more you keep working with these younger writers, the more we're seeing more examples of this, and it's getting tiresome.
Because they're not interested in like the tradition of storytelling.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
They want to deconstruct everything, and they want it to be about them. They don't even look backwards.
Right.
I mean, these are not like, people that have read the great works of literature, people that are studied film, etc., work their way through the system maybe a little bit. That's just not what we have now. And I think it's reflected in the types of stories that they choose to tell.
Yeah.
And the types of characters they choose to have inhabit these stories. It's a reflection of themselves, and it's very ugly.
No, they need to go back to like the works of Homer, read the Iliad and the Odyssey again, read any biblical text again. Just like go back to basics and reflect on that, and actually see what you can actually add to that if you want to add something to it.
And respect the fact
respect
that they're effective.
Yeah.
Respect that they mean something to people, and the reason why they resonate is because of the way it's done. Like, there is a formula to this.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of room and variation to play within that formula, but there's a structure that kind of needs to be there for an experience like a movie to be satisfying. It doesn't mean it has to have a happy ending. It doesn't mean anything like that. But there has to be a coherence to it, and you have to understand like kind of the structure of stories and how to build characters. And I just don't see that a lot. I don't see much of an interest in that either.
Yeah.
And like I said, they always like characters have become very not archetypal. They've become very one note. They're about one thing. They're about this getting to the end of the plot. Whatever the plot is, that is their focus, that's their goal, and that's the entirety of their character. We don't really have much of an understanding of their inner life outside of what they're trying to accomplish plot-wise. There's oftentimes the personal stakes don't really register.
Yeah.
And that's an issue for me. But I guess that's a good segue into getting to what we're about to talk about to end the show. We're going to just have a little brief chat about some of the movies that we've liked and maybe a few more that we disliked from this year of 2024. I have seen 29 films that have come out in 2024 this year.
Okay.
Let me see here. Trembling says, these millennial writers are just recently taking over movies, but I've been dealing with these turds in comics since 2010. If you were born in the 80s, you should have to prove you don't suck before you get to write anything. You're very right about that. Yes, it happened to comic books and cartoons and video games first. And now it's trickled into films, and I think I think everybody feels it too. There's just an underwhelmingness to going to the movies right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm looking more to be disappointed. I'm just expecting to be disappointed now, and it's kind of sucking the fun out of the movie. I want a refund. I want to go get my
Right.
Regal Unlimited Pass and be like, give me my soul back. I did not know the bargain I had made. I did not realize it.
I'm still toying with the idea right now to like even do like an Alamo Drafthouse like subscription right now with the couple that are in my area, but nowadays it's just like it would just be for like Fathom or like older screenings of like older films. It wouldn't be for new stuff.
Those movies don't count.
Yeah.
You can't use those passes for those movies.
Yeah.
Just FYI. No,
Yeah.
FYI, seriously. If you have like you can't. They don't let you use them because Fathom is a separate company.
Yeah.
So you're paying Fathom. You're not actually paying like the theater.
Right. Yeah.
So because I had to pay out of pocket to see Lawrence of Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pay out of pocket next week to go see Rear Window. At least I'm gonna try. Because they're doing Fathom events for Rear Window.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you go to the movies a lot, dude, I mean, I've saved so much money. So much money. I'm also going to the theater more than I ever would normally.
Lately this summer, I have been quite a bit. I've ramped it back up.
Yeah, I mean, I've been gone like probably once a week for the past couple months at the very least. Sometimes I've gone twice.
But I try to shoot for those like more affordable like matinees when I can, like those like Tuesday evening or Thursday
nights
screenings.
Yep.
We've got one local theater here that's not too far that like charges like half the price I would pay at AMC, and I'm taking advantage of that right now.
Hell yeah, 100%. Actually, that happened to me when I went to go see a Late Night with the Devil. I was going to go see it on a Monday night, and they had just recently raised the ticket prices before I had that pass or whatever. And it was like I got to the checkout and I was like, it's going to be $18 for me to go see a fucking Shudder movie. I was like, no fucking way. I will go see this tomorrow night when it's $5.
Yeah.
I'll stay home and pull my pud. Like, I am not paying $18 to go see a fucking Shudder movie. I'll be die because I saw In a Violent Nature on that $5 night too.
Yep.
All right, so let's start talking about some of the stuff we liked. So for me, it's been a pretty bleak year. There's a lot of 2-star movies, a lot of 3-star movies. There's only a few that have broken through at all. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Why don't you go first? What's something you've enjoyed that's come out in the year of 2024?
Well, I'll start by saying this is kind of great that we are crossing over with our best and worst, because I also have seen 29 movies of 2024 as well on my list. So
there you go.
This equals out. I've already talked about, I think on the show before, Snack Shack is still my favorite of the year.
Okay.
A great coming of age film from Adam Reamer. Mostly unknown cast as well, but just a great little like summer drama comedy film that I think more people should see, and goes back to just basics. It doesn't like beat you over the head with any like with it just like any ideas or anything that like they're doing in like modern comedies right now, and it just feels genuine and earnest, and has like heart to it.
Okay, cool. It's like an
you know,
actual coming of age throwback, like kind of
Yeah.
feels like the vibe and the sentiment of the time that it's supposed to take place.
Right. And I like how the relationships all the characters have too, and it's just like it will take you back to your own youth. You know, like you knew characters like this growing up, like in the neighborhood, during the summer when you weren't at school. It just it goes back to basics. And it sucks that in 2024 that we have to say that about like movies, but like no one's really doing that. So it's just
and if they are doing it, it is like noted to death. Like clearly, like you know, somebody brought up something. Not to bring up Alien Romulus again, but like why is everybody so asexual in movies nowadays? Like people, there's no kisses, there's no hugs, there's no affection.
Yeah.
In that way. And somebody brought up a good thing. It's probably because of these intimacy consultants that they get.
You're right. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no. People like fist bump or shoulder bump now. They don't hug and stuff. Remember, it's the COVID era, too. So we don't want to encourage people, like, touching each other.
Yeah, that's
probably like a real thing. That's probably a real reason.
That's honestly a good point to bring up, because post-COVID, on the couple of film sets I've been on, I didn't know that those intimacy coaches were a thing. Like, they were never part of like my film school experience. They were never part of any film set I had been on prior to that.
Yeah,
and
it's a very recent thing.
Yeah, it's definitely changed the game a little bit, and it's made everybody feel a lot more awkward. Even in films where like there's supposed to be romance or like characters like kissing or cuddling or something, it breaks a barrier that I'm like, this feels wrong. You know, this doesn't feel right. Yeah.
Well, there's a sterility to everything. Everything feels it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like lived in. I mean, you still get that a little bit, like I suppose with like indies or they'll still be a little bit more edgy, I suppose, with that kind of stuff. But generally to explore it in a very degenerate way. Like, like I'll bring up my first movie, Kinds of Kindness.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, guys, it's been a rough year, so we're going off of what we got. Kinds of Kindness is Yorgos Lanthimos' new movie. Oh wait, I'm fucking this up. Hold on, I haven't done this in a couple of weeks. Kinds of Kindness, Yorgos Lanthimos' new movie. It's an anthology movie. It stars Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and Willem Dafoe, and obviously some other people too. Kind of examining the nature of love and kindness and relationships and the different permutations in Yorgos Lanthimos fashion. I liked this way, way more than I liked Poor Things. I thought it was a much better movie than Poor Things. It kind of reminded me a lot of The Lobster.
Okay.
It tonally kind of goes back to that a little bit. But it wants to explore relationships and sexuality in the most degenerate way possible. Like, it's just about like hedonism, and it doesn't really have much to say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just kind of a thing that's out there in the world, and we're going to kind of explore it a little bit. It's very like non-judgmental about that, I suppose. But it's got some great performances. It's definitely worth your time if you like Yorgos Lanthimos. If you like him, I'd check it out.
I was gonna say I was not wowed by Poor Things at all. In fact, I think the writing in that film is pretty bad, on the same level as like
it's
Barbie
so
that year.
Oh, it's cringe.
But I was worried that like this new one was going to be very derivative of that, but it sounds like it's going back to like some of his like basic roots again with like The Lobster or something, which I did enjoy a lot.
It's got that kind of absurdist comedy. It's like that style of his absurdist comedy, where Poor Things is also, I suppose, kind of like that, but it's like he just went. It's almost like an anti-comedy. It's like, how obnoxious can we make this?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like an endurance test. Like, can you sit through this movie?
Sure.
Which might be part of its intention. I don't know. Maybe that's in the design of the movie, but
It just felt like somebody on Tumblr wrote the script. That's just like how I came out of it. I'm like, okay. So in some respect, I was laughing a lot at it, but at the same time, like, this is so retardedly written. I can't like, really buy it.
well, it's just so facile. It's just a simplistic view of like human beings and relationships and sex. And I'm not even going to say that Kinds of Kindness actually does a much better job. It just does it in a more interesting, entertaining way.
Yeah.
There's an aggressiveness to poor things in the way that it's made that I found very unpleasant.
Okay.
And just kind of hurt my eyes to watch in a certain way. And I hated every character and I hated everything I was watching. I just could not get into it. I'll give it a revisit someday, but I don't know when that's going to be. All right, what's your next one?
I'll put up another one here that I just watched the other week. The Promised Land, directed by Nikolai Arcel, starring Mads Mikkelsen and a lot of other Danish and German actors I don't know.
Okay.
But it's a good little period piece in the 1700s where an ex-military guy decides to basically like cultivate like a bunch of land on somebody else's like a lord's property, and there's like an ongoing feud between them both because he sees potential in like growing crops and making it happen out there and thriving and building a family and living off the land, setting a life for himself.
Okay.
But those higher up classist royals, they're just always getting in his way and whatnot. But it's a really solid movie. I think
it looks great.
It never gets too over the top. Like there's like moments where you think it's gonna get like grisly and violent and things like that, but it never really goes there. Like I was worried it was gonna get like to like the tone of like something like The Patriot, which I do like, but it is like a completely different kind of like tone.
Total, different kind of vibe.
Yeah. No, this was honestly really solid, and like there is such a cold, lonely, isolated, I don't know, like just like sort of vibe that it really gives off. That I don't know. The Danish are just really good at doing that.
Yeah.
Even in their comedies. So, yeah.
I mean, I love Mads Mikkelsen, so I'll definitely give it a shot.
Yeah.
I think it's on Hulu right now. If anybody wants to check it out.
Yeah.
The guy who directed this wrote The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the screenplay for the original one.
Yeah, and I think he's also attached to the Dark Tower.
Oh, dude, no, he directed the Dark Tower.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, see, this is what they do to these guys. They get these foreign directors to be like, oh, you had like a really good indie movie.
Yeah.
How would you like to come and direct this studio nightmare?
Every time.
Every goddamn time, dude. All right, I'll definitely put that one on my list.
Yeah.
Have to check that one out. The next movie I got that I'll bring up is Challengers.
Okay. That's on mine too. It's up there for me.
Challengers, I think, is a incredibly well-made movie about some of the most insufferable people to ever live. It does suffer from a lot of the problems that I think modern movies make, except that it is done in such a tour de force fashion from the director's standpoint and the way it was put together that I can't help but respect it. Like, it is such a well-made, tight little movie.
Yeah. Well, even the polyamorous sexual competition connectivity, it's done in a way more sincere manner, I would say, than most movies that would try to attempt something like this.
Yeah, it definitely
whether you like it or not, yeah.
But I the thing with things like this, though, it's like it's okay to pass judgment on the fact that Zendaya like wants to cheat on her husband, and it won't do it. And it just won't do it. It just won't do it. It's just like, no, this is just the nature of their relationship. This is just they'll forever be like this, kind of in almost like a mythic fairy tale way.
Yeah.
Where I was like, but like I said, it is. I mean, they shot the shit out of this movie. It is a great looking fucking movie. And some of the sequences are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's got and even though it's over 2 hours long, but you do not feel that length. Like it's a very snappy, zippy, well-paced experience.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite from the director.
Yeah, I got to go back to a couple of his. I would say it's definitely his most technically sophisticated, for sure.
Oh, I never saw Bones and All. I never saw Bones. That's not Timothy Chalamet.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I liked
bad?
it. Yeah.
And I don't mind his Suspiria either.
Yeah.
Call Me by Your Name. It was just okay, whatever.
There's little things in that movie where I'm just like
a coded creep masterpiece.
yeah.
It's because like Timothy Chalamet reads as like a 14-year-old boy, and there's no getting around that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he was cast. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's just my opinion. What's your next one?
What else have I got here right now? Oh, I rewatched it because I'd forgotten I'd seen it. I feel bad, even though I did really like it. It's on Shudder right now. Exuma, the South Korean / part Japanese horror film.
Okay.
That came out earlier this year. After tracing the origin of a disturbing supernatural affliction to a wealthy family's ancestral gravesite, a team of paranormal experts find the remains of a Japanese spirit is the essential plot that is buried in a South Korean cliff. And it's solid. I was really just taken aback by it. Just kind of goes back to just, I don't know, like supernatural fun and basics. Troy Min-sik, who's probably most famous for Old Boy, he's in it. Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a ton of like great things to say other than that just it didn't feel like
just a solid movie.
Yeah, just didn't have a stereotypical or just annoying plot or anything. Like all the characters were very intelligent and like you're with them the entire way, and they're trying to all work together to put a stop to the spirit, and I like that kind of dynamic.
It definitely looks like something right up my alley. I know it's not like a one-to-one comparison, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of The Wailing from a couple of years ago.
That's a good one to compare it to. Honestly, it could make a good double feature.
Good double feature, yeah.
But The Wailing is a little bit more. Definitely goes in a lot of different directions compared to this one, but they definitely tonally.
Just together. the general conceit of like trying to exorcise a ghost or a witch or a demon or something, right? My next movie I will bring up is The Bike Riders.
Okay, it's on mine too.
The Bike Riders is actually streaming on Peacock now, but I saw it when it came out in the theater. I really enjoyed this movie. It's definitely a little flawed. It has a problem with some of its thematic coherence, but I think overall the good outweighs the bad with this movie. True. And it's made in the tradition of kind of 60s biker hangout movies. Mm-hmm. It's done in kind of a vignette style where we kind of get to experience a vertical slice of this lifestyle and how it changes. I really loved that it was kind of about generational passing the torch, how one generation affects the other, how that might be a bad thing sometimes. Like your influences on the generation that's coming up behind you is important. Mm-hmm. Because as much as these people are they're like the noble warrior bikers, they have provided the environment to have psychopaths basically start taking over, and it's kind of their own fault. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and Tom Hardy is phenomenal as he often is. Yeah, Austin Butler is out of the newer crop of actors that have come up, Austin Butler has definitely been one I've enjoyed a lot of his work lately. I think the weak link is Jodie Comer. She is a little caricature-y more than I think she's a little outclassed by the rest of the cast, honestly, and it's a little distracting. I think it was a mistake to make her the POV, like the narration. I thought it should have been one of their kids.
Yeah, I mean, her fascination with them definitely felt a little forced in some ways. Yeah, I would have liked somebody that was a little bit more youthful or looking up.
Well, because the story is about a generational shift.
Yeah.
That's what the story ends up being about. that's when it comes together at the end and what happens to Tom Hardy's character, etc. So wouldn't it make sense if this was the POV of like lessons learned by the next generation?
Yeah.
Like his daughter telling, like Austin Butler's daughter telling the story of her father.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyways, but that's, you know, that's just my opinion. But
I'm with you though too, like with the theming of like a group of guys that are not like fully grasping like the weight of their responsibility and coming to terms with that, or in however way that, you know, with all the hiccups. But it's also a really good just hangout movie as well. Like it's marketed as like an action thriller, and it's not really
It's not
that
at
at
all.
all. Yeah.
No.
And that's not something what's the director's name? Jeff Nichols.
Jeff Nichols,
who I've worked with from afar.
Cool.
On one of his movies. What was it? I think it was Loving.
Midnight's Loving. Yep.
Yeah, Loving, that they shot in Richmond, Virginia. I was part of the casting for that.
Oh, cool.
You know, he's known for not. I guess maybe Mud is like the exception, but typically he's not that kind of director. Like he likes telling these more Western,
personal allegorical
stories.
personal stories. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember back in the day when I first saw Take Shelter. I loved it. I was I was so enamored with that movie, and what's his name's performance. What the fuck's his name? Michael Shannon. Him and Michael Shannon are good buddies, and I actually really liked him in Midnight Special as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That movie definitely has some weaknesses, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
As being kind of a, it's almost like an answer to Spielberg's Encounters of a Third Kind, in the sense where it's like this family-rooted alien experience rather than an excuse to get away from your family.
Right.
So yeah,
but it never does anything over the top with the visuals or anything. It keeps it very. It makes it very realistic, you know, and that's what he's really good at. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of like something of a chase movie.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of trying to run away from basically the government, this agency. Austin in the chat says, "Big year for Austins." I agree. Big year for Austins indeed. What's your next one?
I'll mention one. I don't think I brought it up on any of the shows, but one I thought, you know what, I just kicked back and went with it, and I was just having a good time. It may not be the greatest or anything like that, but Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F on Netflix right now, I had a lot of fun with.
Did you really?
I did.
You really?
I did.
Okay.
Yes, I mean it's not like perfect by any means. I see that you gave it 1.5 stars. So
yes, I was not too keen on it. I know a lot of people liked it. I just didn't like it. I just thought it was kind of a what did I write? A dour, depressing, sad slog. It's directed like it's a pilot for some new Netflix show. Most of the cinematography is flat and uninteresting. A far cry from the days of Tony Scott or Martin Brest, for that matter. Just like most of the more recent Legacy sequels, it's about 20 years too late to feel like it makes any sense, etc. You know what I mean?
I will give you some of that credit in terms of just the filmmaking. Like, I knew that going into it, that they were not going to have that filmic grit that they had in the 80s or the 90s even.
Yeah, but that's what makes those movies. Like, those movies, I mean, they're, you know, Eddie Murphy's Eddie Murphy, and he's generally pretty entertaining. But he's like I don't know. And he's wearing like the Axel Foley costume.
Yeah.
That always bothers me in these movies. Like, he's got a costume and he's like 62 years old wearing the costume. Come on.
Well, that's what lends to the humor for me. I mean, I don't think he really shows I don't think that really shows his age as much, to be honest. I mean, yeah, wearing the costume sure a little bit.
Listen, black don't crack, buddy. He looks good.
Yeah,
he looks good for his age.
He's still pretty fly. The rest of the cast, not so much, but and also, okay, I will say,
Judge Reinhold looks like they dragged him out of a lake. He's all like bloated and shit.
He was looking rough, yeah,
dude. And I was like, oh, these guys are working a beat. I'm like, motherfucker, these dudes aren't cops anymore.
Yeah.
It's 2024. I mean, I know. Listen, I understand that's like some wild nitpicky shit. It's a Beverly Hills Cop movie. I get it. Like, you can, but I don't know, man. I wasn't into it.
Now whoever was behind it though, I wonder if any of them were fans of Ronnie Cox from at least the original first two. That dude is still working. He's still a working musician. He's still acting. He's doing voice acting and whatnot. I don't know why they couldn't pull him out of like hiding for a quick cameo, but I guess he wasn't going to come back for this.
No, he's the only one that read the script.
Yeah.
But no, I understand. I get it. Like I do get what people enjoyed about it. I couldn't find my way there. In fact, I didn't even finish it. I had like 15 minutes left, and I just fell asleep, and then I never went back.
Yeah. I embrace it. Just it's stupid fun, and that's how I kind of treat it. It was,
and that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Not everything has to be some sort of cinematic masterpiece to enjoy. I like a lot of dumb shit. Trust me, I like a lot of garbage.
Yeah.
Treblik says, I would have liked Axel F if they didn't have the stupid estranged daughter plot that took up the majority of the movie and doesn't fit. Yeah, sure. I got to tell you, like the everybody having to be your daughter now, is a little getting a little old. Signal Intrusion says, fuck 'em, Ronnie Cox. That's right. Yeah. I'll bring up my populist garbage. Dune Part 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Dune Part 2. In fact, out of 2024, of what I've seen of movies that have come out in 2024, it's probably the one I enjoyed the most in the theater watching. Mm-hmm. I got to see it in IMAX with a bunch of captive Dune fans. And I think it's kind of like Lawrence of Arabia in the way where it's like the scope and the spectacle and the scale and the theatrical experience mattered so much to how I feel about the movie that watching it at home definitely diminishes that 100%.
Oh yeah.
But I just think it's an impressive feat, and I like to see a big, expensive sci-fi movie that actually like doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Like, because whether or not you love these movies or whatever, like they work, they make sense. Like I understand like all the character motivations, their internal life. They take the time to build these characters up. It ends up being that Dune Part 1. I kind of wish they didn't. Oh, no, wait. I'm glad that they split them into two movies because I think Denis Villeneuve just had a better handle on how to make a Dune movie his second go.
Yes. Yeah.
I just think he did.
It was almost like there was like a little bit of like a test audience sort of response where he's like, okay, that didn't work. I'm going to do this now, and I'm going to fix these
And also,
little things.
he got all the table setting out of the way.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we got to go to the fun parts of the kind of the adventure and the war and like and Paul Atreides kind of, rising through the ranks and becoming the Muad'Dib.
Sure.
And I think even some of the stuff that they changed adaptation wise, I was kind of okay with. I know a lot of people aren't. Mm-hmm. The Zendaya stuff, I hear everybody. It just didn't bother me enough to matter to me. I just didn't care. It didn't bother me that much. And they did that to totally appeal to a modern sensibility. Like, well, Zendaya is supposed to be the strong warrior queen. She would never think this is okay. She wouldn't be a ride or die for Paul. Mm-hmm. He's going to have to prove himself to her, which is not what happens in the books, like at all. She is a dedicated waifu.
Yeah, through and through to the end. No, there were moments. I mean, I think I like how it's on par with a lot of Hollywood films of its kind, but it does things very differently. It almost has like a biblical epic touch to it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That you just don't see as often. And I think Denis Villeneuve had like a different cinematographer for this one. But just the way they shoot those action scenes too. There's no shaky cam. There's nothing that's like stilted or weird. It feels like every frame feels like it's important in some way.
Yeah, and they're big and they're epic and they're like every frame is just something to like whoa, like this is fucking crazy. Dude, when I was sitting in the theater and Fade Rotha, I've said this like 5 times on this show. Mm-hmm. Fade Rotha comes into the Coliseum and that fucking Zimmer score, like I was so, dude, the hair stood up on my hands. I was like, oh my god, that's a fucking movie right there, dude. Holy shit. Trebling says some stuff in Dune 2 was worse than the book and some was better. Having Paul be the one that kills Baron instead of his little sister was a good decision. I'm glad they just avoided the little sister part entirely. They're holding her off until Dune Messiah, I assume. Yeah, that's Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
She shows up in a vision that Paul has at the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie.
And that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I wish I had read the books to help inform the movies a little bit more, so I didn't have like the closest connection to the films as much as they were encapsulating something that I do find very inventive and cool just from a filmmaking standpoint. But I need to go and actually read those at some point. So.
Well, the problem that a lot of people have with Villeneuve's take on Dune is that he's removed a lot of the weird shit.
Yeah.
He's taken a lot of the really fantasy stuff out of it and has kind of been more on like the grounded version of Dune. And it's going to be interesting to see how he reconciles that with Dune Messiah, which is apparently is happening. And I think they're going into production next summer. So it's actually going to be out a lot sooner than he thought it was going to come out, because he was like, man, I need to go make a small movie after doing these Dune movies back to back. But they're backing up the money truck.
That might see some hefty competition with Passion of the Christ 2 Resurrection or something.
Oh,
see
dude,
how
that would
that
be
goes.
sweet.
Yeah.
All right, what's your next one?
Yeah, here, let me pull it back up. Maybe I'll do one of the bad ones.
Yeah, shoot me a bad one.
Let's see here. So, okay, my worst right now, at least at the bottom ranked, is Drive Away Dolls, directed by Ethan Coen.
God, dude, I couldn't make it through it.
I was fuming
I was
when I saw
shocked.
that in the theater. Yeah, by how just obnoxious, like the whole way through. I didn't like anybody.
Dude, it was like somebody made a fake Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
And you know what? You know what it showed me? That Ethan Coen is definitely the one behind the period of time when they were doing like Intolerable Cruelty and shit like that. I was like, oh, that was definitely you.
Yeah.
Because holy shit.
I think my first initial Letterboxd review was it was one sentence. I was like, the Coen Brothers need to tell their wives to knock it off or something like that.
They are getting back together.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they got more movie coming out.
Because I'm sure Joel was just like, Ethan, I saw Drive Away Dolls. You're really fucking up our name here, pal.
Yeah.
Dude, I was crazy. I was shocked by how like amateur it was.
Yeah.
Really shot. It was just weird, shoddy, cheap.
There were points
bad movie.
I was like, did Elizabeth Banks or somebody direct this? Like, does not feel like a Coen Brothers like movie at all. Like, what's going on?
And also, it has this weird thing, and this is like the male ally thing, where all female characters have to be like lesbians.
Yeah.
Like they have there's a male directors of a certain age. They just like have a fascination with lesbians. There's a lot of fetishization of like lesbians, and this movie has that in spades.
But they're not even like, and this is like a Hollywood thing. They're not even like realistic lesbians. Like they're just like caricatures.
Which is like that's like that's the Coen Brothers things. But I think what Joel obviously offers is like the groundedness between the two of them, and Ethan's more of the fantastical one. And when they work together, they can find a happy medium between those two kind of impulses.
Yeah.
But dude, I couldn't believe that shit. I was watching it with my wife. And like, my wife she's kind of a normie movie watcher. And she was like, do we have to finish this? And I was like, you know what? No, we don't. Good call.
Yeah.
My love. Good call. Trebling says, yeah, he is sticking with Herbert's original aesthetic view that Herbert just abandoned by the third book and goes full in with the fourth one that was Paul was and would have been a messiah. And the son is this ruthless, amoral version of what Paul was meant to be. Yeah, I'm actually still working my way through the books. I'm like halfway through Children of Dune. I haven't gotten back to it because I've been reading so much other stuff. What is one that I disliked? Let's go with Argyle. Argyle is the new Matthew Vaughn flick. And
I missed out on this one. But,
my God, it's atrocious. I do have a review up on the channel if anybody wants to go check that out. So I'll be brief here. but it's just like a mess. It is like Matthew Vaughn, the culmination of all of his worst impulses as a filmmaker, like poured into one movie. I don't think they shot on a single practical location the entire time. Anytime they're outside, they're clearly in like the volume or a green screen or something. He apparently got Apple to buy it for $200 million.
That was the same problem with the last year's Indiana Jones film too. It was just always a green screen, always in front of some sort of studio background, and they're putting these things in a machine now, Sean. I don't like it.
Well, they're just so lifeless, and they're not fun. And like the sequences are like uninspired and cartoony. So you have like no connection to them, and they don't feel substantial. Trembling says Matthew Vaughn truly is the dumber Guy Ritchie. Yeah, he truly is.
At this point,
he truly fucking is. And I used to kind of like, I was liked Matthew Vaughn just fine. You know, I like Layer Cake. When the first Kick-Ass came out, it was kind of novel at the time.
Sure.
I don't think it's aged very well, but yeah. So I'll just leave it there with Argyle. Argyle's just not good. Just avoid it.
Let me see what else I can pull up here. This was one that's kind of in the middle of my list. Was not one I was like really taken aback by or disliked, but was just very middle of the road. Richard Linklater's Hitman on Netflix right now.
I did not get around to that one, but I had meant to watch it, but because it's a Netflix movie, it just disappears. You just never hear about it again.
I think he's got some sort of like Netflix deal where I think that's been like a couple of his last few entries where they just go right to Netflix.
Because I like the last one he did was the Apollo 11.5 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
The one that's the rotoscoped one he did about like his basically the story of his childhood about his dad worked at NASA and shit.
Yeah. It was
that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Same sort of like vector style Scanner Darkly animation.
Scanner Darkly and the one before it, Something Life.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
the other one that is all vignettes.
Right.
But yeah, it's that same style, and I thought it was pretty good. It's like it was kind of a coming of age story. Like, what was it like to be alive at that time? It has lots of like kind of jokes about like your dad would drink a beer in the car. There's ashtrays all over the place. Just things like little touches like that, and and these kids just kind of. It's about like this summer that there's going to be a launch.
Yeah. Well, this Hitman movie. I would say it's definitely a performance-driven film. The plot kind of goes in different areas where you're just like, even though it's based on a true story or inspired by a true story, it just doesn't feel quite like it's trying to take on this kind of film noir sort of like take. There's a femme fatale sort of character in there, and it's about a guy who's like basically working as a professor by day and then like as a fake hitman by night, or interviewing other people to like help them out. I guess like, I need this guy taken out, and I'm like, well, I'm your guy. I'm gonna get some money out of you, and but he's working with the police, and so it's basically just like a weird kind of like in between role, and that stuff is pretty funny. But it just I think where it falls short is like the romance plot and a certain character, but it's still it's very Linklater still. I think he's definitely trying to this felt like if Linklater was doing something that like Soderbergh would do and just kind of like pioneering into a different territory a little bit.
Well, it's kind of like what he did when he did because I saw the trailer for it and the tone reminded me a little bit of Bernie. And I know it's not exactly like Bernie because it has like the fake docudrama stuff in Bernie.
Yeah.
But Bernie is kind of a movie that I could see somebody like a Soderbergh doing.
Sure.
It's got that same kind of feel to it, and I liked Bernie, so I definitely want to check it out. I heard mixed things about it, but since you say it's worth the time, I'll definitely check it out. Trembling says, "Do they make this guy not get the girl again? Does Glenn Powell get to smooch the girl?"
There's some smooching. There's a little bit of that in there. Richard Linklater has not lost his touch there. At least he knows that romance still needs to thrive.
It still needs to be in the goddamn movie.
Yeah.
One of my middle of the road ones would be Unfrosted. The
the Seinfeld.
And a lot of people really hated this movie. It did not work for most people. I thought, and I could tell you that this must have been a mess that they cobbled together what they could. But I think as a joke factory, I think the jokes worked more often than not. And that's kind of what I was looking for with it. So I didn't really care that it's stupid. Like, it just didn't bother me.
Yeah.
And so I ended up kind of enjoying it more than I thought I would. Maybe it's because I had no expectations for it or whatever. But I don't know. I grew up watching Seinfeld too, so I'm kind of in the bag for this kind of thing as well. I thought the cast was mostly pretty good. It's the best use of what's her name, Amy Schumer, I've ever seen in a movie. She gets to play kind of this stereotypical evil business lady, and worked very well. It's the funniest thing she's done maybe ever.
Wow.
But yeah, I don't really have much to say about it beyond that.
Was Jerry Seinfeld, like, was he trying to get this movie made for like many years, and he just
I think the idea had been around for a while. I think he had the idea for like the concept for a while, and he's just like, he's a very successful person, dude. He doesn't have to do anything that he doesn't want to do,
Right.
And I think once driving in cars, getting coffee with comedians, once that became a Netflix thing, because it used to be on Sony's free streamer Crackle. That's where that actually first was. And then Netflix bought it. And then I think he has some sort of development deal with Netflix. And obviously he got a ton of money when Netflix put Seinfeld on there. They paid through the teeth for that. Like, it's like with Friends when they pay like $1 billion to be able to stream Friends for like 4 years. Crazy shit. Trevor says he should have had Michael Richards as the guy who wants a black Sambo mascot for Pop-Tarts. If he had any courage, he would have. Yes, he totally would have. That would have been a great meta joke.
Sure.
All right, what's your next one?
One that we both have watched, and I think we both have similar opinions on, even though I think it still has some issues, and I'm curious where it's going to go further on. But Horizon: An American Saga, Chapter 1, I ended up really liking. Gotta support my Utah filmmakers.
Hell yeah, there you go,
fam out there. Yeah. No, honestly, like I thought Kevin Costner like came in. I guess with like a little bit of a grudge with just how things were going with Yellowstone, and was like, you know what, I'm just gonna come back in with a vengeance and just make my epic, and I like this approach that he's like full on not committed to doing a mini series necessarily, but just keeping it at the cinemas,
because it's a particular thing. He wants event cinema, right?
Yeah.
We don't have event cinema. We don't have movies that like everybody goes to see anymore. I mean, it is very much in the style of like a 90s Western miniseries. It definitely felt like that. Like, it has a very Lonesome Dove kind of vibe to it. Because it is a little corny. It's very earnest. But I kind of like that. I like that it kind of embraced that and just went with it. And that there are like decent people amongst this carnage of everything that's happening with Western expansion and Manifest Destiny. I mean, it's a little woke. People are going to like that or they're not, whatever. But I thought more often than not, it worked. And I was really looking forward to Chapter 2. I was supposed to be seeing Chapter 2 this weekend.
Yeah.
It was supposed to, IMDb still has this poster up.
Yeah.
Chapter 2, August 16th. No, it's not.
Yeah.
I hope it finds a wider audience though, and and I'm glad that he at least has the first 2 parts shot, which I think he might be able to close it with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be a 4-part series.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he ever gets to finish that. I really hope he does, because it's such a cool, ambitious thing, and it hasn't been done in a while. Like kind of a Western on this kind of scale and scope.
Sure.
with this many characters, because it's a great giant ensemble. It's got every actor you've ever heard of makes an appearance in it, and it's just kind of a lot of fun in that way. In the same way that those old miniseries were kind of fun. Yep. It was kind of fun to go see, like, oh, it's Robert Duvall and fucking Tommy Lee Jones. Awesome.
Yeah, it still has it has that just classic feel. I mean, it goes back to like films like even like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or something like that, like where it's just like, we're going to make the most out of these locations, and we're going to give you like that old school gritty Western look again.
Yeah.
And have fun with it as well. I do agree it does have like some of the woke elements, and I don't think Kevin Costner's ever been propped up really as like, oh, he's like one of these like Hollywood conservatives. I'm like, I don't think he really is. No. I think he just gets that label because of
he's his, he's a man of a generation that is clearly not of the current moment.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that is like,
right,
and that's enough for people to think that he's like a hard ass or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they kind of bought into which Yellowstone is a very woke show. I don't understand why it's so popular on the right. It's like got the girl bosses. It's got Native American, guilt.
Sure.
I guess we'll call it white man's guilt for what happens to Native Americans, etc. It's a very trashy show. It's like watching Dallas. It's like the modern version of Dallas. Yeah. Now that he's not on the show, I'll never watch it again. So
yeah.
I watched it on a lark. I was like, you know what? I've always heard about this Yellowstone show. I'm going to check it out. It was like a year ago or so, maybe a couple years ago. And then me and my wife end up just like barreling through to like current season. And we were just goofing on the show the whole time. We would just like look forward to watching it and basically doing like Mystery Science Theater 3000. That's kind of what we did through the whole show, because it's so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
But in a trashy, entertaining way. Like I get why people like it, because it's very soap opera.
Well,
high quality soap opera.
Part of it is just like what's his name? Tyler Sheridan. He just went like so far off the mark, like out of the blue. Like he had a few good films like leading up to that, and then I don't know what happened. Like it just like the industry just like something clicked in his brain, and he just like I don't know, just doubled down into some other.
He became a studio guy. He became a franchise guy, and now he's the shepherd of the Yellowstone franchise. I mean, look at all the spin-offs that they do, all that kind of shit. Because he did Wind River,
Hell or High Water,
Hell or High Water,
which were good. I liked those movies. Yeah,
both good movies.
Yeah,
and they have like a tone. They feel grounded. They feel kind of real. Whereas Yellowstone is like literally, it's a soap opera.
Yeah,
it is. It's a soap opera for dudes, and that they can watch with their wives.
Right.
And that's the magic of something like that. I saw The Fall Guy.
Oh yeah, I avoided this one. I didn't care.
The Fall Guy. Yeah. Listen, dude, it's like big studio movie star driven fare. It's probably better than it has any right to be, but it's also is exactly what it is. Like, you're not going to get anything. It actually kind of it fucks it up, because Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt have like no chemistry, and it's kind of integral to making a movie like this work, because it's kind of got like a Romancing of the Stone kind of vibe to it. Like that's what they're going for, and it never quite gets there. There's some cool stunts. There's some cool action. It's an ode to stuntmen. I never watched the show that it was based off of. It's like a movie version of a show with Lee Majors from back in the day. I never watched it, so I don't have any reverence for it or know anything about it. I just watched it because my wife wanted to watch it. I'll be real with you. Sometimes, listen, you got to do what you got to do sometimes, okay? Yeah. Sometimes that means you're watching The Fall Guy.
I didn't realize until recently that it was based on a 90s show, that there was actually some base for it when it came out. So I guess there's like a small fan base for that, because it bombed.
It bombed so hard they put it on streaming like 2 weeks after it hit theaters.
Yeah,
which is that's the thing they do now, which is crazy to me. But yeah, it bombed hard, and it's because I think it just feels like entertainment product, and I think people sense that, and it's kind of just shallow. and it is what it is. Like, I'm not gonna, it's not the worst. It's out of all of these kinds of movies that I've seen lately, it's probably on the top of the pile as far as these kind of generic, soulless, studio, whatever, populist movies. It's one of the better ones. Trembling says, I like The Fall Guy, dumb action comedy, and it feels a bit like Shane Black. Ryan Gosling is who makes it enjoyable to me mostly. Yeah, Ryan Gosling's great. Like, he really is good in it. I mean, Ryan Gosling's pretty good in most of what he's in. And he's got great comedic timing, and he's got great physicality, and he puts it to good use in The Fall Guy, 100%. It's just kind of a ephemeral. Like, I watched it when it came out, and I don't really remember much about it. Like, I just kind of have a sense memory of how I felt about it, but I don't remember many particular things about it. All right, well, let's do a couple more.
I've got another terrible one here that I don't think most people I know have seen. Maybe a couple people. Our boy Walter on Twitter, he's seen it, and he's probably got the same sort of sentiment that I have. It's a movie called Miller's Girl on Netflix.
Miller's Girl.
Starring Martin Freeman and our girl Jenna Ortega.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, I've heard of this. I didn't watch it though.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume it's based on one of these like C-list pulpy like romance novels, because that's how it definitely felt in terms of just the tone and the narration given. But basically, it's about a young writer at like a prestigious school who falls for her teacher, and her teacher is like secretly falling for her as well, but like she's underage, and they're kind of playing into that whole thing. Yes, but it's done in such a like, not even in like an untasteful way, but just like, not. I mean, it feels like it's just a weird sexual fantasy the whole way through, and in the end, it's like they still kind of play, even though like Martin Freeman, his character is doing to the best of his ability to kind of resist like any sort of temptation, he's still propped up as the villain through and through, and it's just like, okay, in that kind of like situation,
Yes, which I mean, he is like in reality, like you are. If you're the adult, like you are the responsible party. Like a teenage girl is going to act like a teenage girl, and it's incumbent upon you to ignore that. But I don't know. I mean, I'll probably skip it. I mean, because I've seen 100 movies like this about this exact topic. Everybody wants to be fucking Lolita.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's shot like a Hallmark Lifetime movie. Yeah, just not worth anybody's time. It's just bad. That's what it feels like, essentially.
I saw the new Ghostbusters movie, Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Movie is a stinker.
Yeah.
It's a stinker, everybody. It's not good. It's just weird what they've done with Ghostbusters, and this was this is something I would compare something like the Fall Guy to, like the big populist studio stuff, right? Like the Fall Guy is much better than Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire in terms of just being kind of a turn your brain off entertainment situation. It's kind of incoherent. It has actually a very similar problem that Trap has, which it doesn't trust the family dynamic and lean into that. Like it's clearly like coded to, like it's clearly set up to do that, and then just doesn't do it because it's like not. The plot doesn't need it. They don't care about these characters. They just care about getting it to the end of the movie, like the plot.
Who does Patton Oswalt play in this movie? I didn't even know he was in it.
Yeah, no, he comes in to play the new Dan Aykroyd.
Okay.
But Dan Aykroyd's in the movie also has a scene where he just plays Dan Aykroyd like at the spooky bookstore giving exposition, and then they have another scene where Patton Oswalt does the same thing. It's weird. It's not good.
It's just another example of that nerd culture commentary, like, oh, I'll be the spokesman for this, or reference. Yeah.
It's not good. That's all I'm gonna say. And I've never seen a more disengaged Bill Murray in my entire life. The dude did not want to be there at all. Did not care to be there. Trembling asks, is Jenna Ortega's career just being the gothy Latino jailbait for as long as it's believable? Yeah, probably. I mean, She's still got a couple years left. She still looks like she's fucking 14.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like in Alien Romulus have this too. Like the cast looked like they were so young. Like they look like they're children. Like the two, like especially like the girls, like the main, like Kaylee Spaney or whatever her name is. She looks like she's 12 years old, which made the whole thing even more unbelievable to me. But anyways,
it's because they're injecting this next generation with like weird drugs and putting things in the food to make everybody look younger than they did back in 1979 or whatever.
So it's the preservatives, dude. We're literally being preserved from the inside out.
Yeah.
I'll just rapid fire a couple. Lisa Frankenstein, the new Diablo Cody joint. If I was a teenage girl, I probably would have enjoyed it. I think it's actually not that bad. Relative to these kinds of movies, but it's clearly not. I'm not the target audience for it, and so for me, it's just like, oh, it's fine. It's like whatever. It's got a couple fun jokes in it, and there's a couple interesting sequences, and a clever twist on the Frankenstein's monster thing.
Yeah.
Love Lies Bleeding. I really love the look of that movie. Right. I really like the way it's shot. I really enjoyed the performance of not Kirsten Stewart, the other woman that's in it. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's kind of a newer actress. She really commits to her role and really goes for it. But it's just another one of these kind of, men are the scum of the fucking earth. Another movie about some, about lesbians. I mean, it's so retarded because like part of the movie is like about bodybuilders. Yeah. And, one of the characters is a female bodybuilder, and she's talking to Ed Harris, and it's like the most on the nose dialogue. He's like looking at her, and he's like, "I bet you think you're strong, huh? I bet you think you're strong because of that body, huh?" And he's like, "This is power." And then he pulls out a gun and shoots it near her, and he's like, "This is real power," because all the men are like sniveling weasels, like. And it's just tired. It's just a tiresome thing. And also, I have never been into Kirsten Stewart, and I don't believe people when they say, "Oh, she's really maturing into a good actress." No, she's not.
Oh no, I don't even think she's a genuine person these days at all.
Yeah, she's. Yeah, she's on her way to becoming the new Elliot Page.
Yeah,
give her a couple years, dude.
Yes,
but it's a movie that I kind of recognize that, and it's something because I've been thinking about it while I'm working on my own movie, was that the only time you're allowed to look at masculine traits as a positive thing is if a woman does it. So these characters in Love Lies Bleeding are basically like dudes. They act like dudes. And they get to be like have integrity and strength, and like there's some sort of sense of honor to their relationship and what they're doing versus the men who are like these weak sniveling weasels that need their guns, their stupid guns and their stupid violence. So it was just something that it's just a trend out there. And Love Lies Bleeding is like the manifestation of it. Like that's all it is just that. Roadhouse, I did not love Roadhouse. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world. It's kind of like I would put it in the same category as something like The Fall Guy. I think The Fall Guy was better. I liked The Fall Guy more than I liked Roadhouse, but I know a lot of people that's got its fans though. A lot of people enjoyed it. So
I do want to rewatch it at some point because there are a lot of aspects to it that I had fun. I think Doug Liman is a very competent director throughout his career, and someone like Conor McGregor, while I will not say he is a good actor.
No, he's fun.
But he's a lot of fun. He has a lot of just like screen presence and gives that movie like a little extra juice that I think would have otherwise been kind of bland, just in name only, because it's like, oh, well, we're remaking the Patrick Swayze movie. But
honestly, I kind of wish they had stuck to more of the old Patrick Swayze movie. Like, give it some edge. It's a very sanitized version of Roadhouse in a weird way.
Sure.
It's very slick.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just kind of bounced off of me. it just didn't really work for me.
It's also one of these examples where the plot doesn't really kick in until like halfway through, and you're just like, oh, now we're supposed to take this seriously or something like that. You know, it's like it takes its time.
Yeah, because it's kind of like the original Roadhouse, where it's like kind of a hangout thing for a while, and we kind of get into it, and then. But at least in the original Roadhouse, they kind of start setting up the stakes pretty early.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
foreshadow it a little bit, and this one, you're right. It's just like this at the middle of the second act. They're like. Now the bad guy. Now this evil corporation wants to buy the old Roadhouse bar so they can do fucking Riverside property or something. I was like, okay, all right. Godzilla X Kong. I enjoy that vicariously through my son. It's not a good movie. Like I would not tell you here, sober-minded adult man, it is not a good movie. But if you have a kid, you have a little boy,
sure,
it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch it.
Yeah.
With them specifically. I would never watch this on my own. Like I would never put this on and watch it again on my own ever.
That's why I didn't go to see it, because I would have been stuck there on my lonesome, feeling embarrassed for myself and the people that made it. Yeah. So yeah, I avoided it.
What else I got? Abigail. That was another Dan Stevens movie. Speaking of Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah.
Abigail is fine. It's entertaining. It's not great, but the characters are actually kind of fun. It's like too long, and giving away the twist in the trailer was definitely a problem. Like, because the movie acts like you don't know for like 40 minutes when they told you in the trailer, and that's so it kind of takes the wind out of it. I don't know how you market that movie otherwise, to be honest with you, but it did negatively affect the movie. I watched David Cronenberg's daughter, her first movie, Humane.
Oh, I missed that one too. Yeah.
Humane was it's a very weird movie. I have a review of it on my Letterboxd if people want to check it out, because I kind of got into my deeper problems with the movie.
Right.
But yeah, you got to watch out for these bourgeois people, you know? They want to kill you.
Does
Just leave it there.
Does Caitlin Cronenberg? So does she do anything that's kind of different from like Brandon Cronenberg and David himself as well?
No. It's still pulling. It's definitely pulling from Dad's well.
Okay.
Not as good as Brandon.
Okay.
It's much more like it's like a low budget Canadian movie. Like Jay Baruchel's in it. He's actually really good in it. Who else? It's got a good cast actually. I really enjoy the cast. Jay Baruchel. I'm looking for his name. Peter Gallagher. He's also very good in it. It's got like the actors and stuff, and it's got some good stuff, some good moral dilemmas, but it has the problem where it just doesn't really have a point of view. Yeah. It's just like, well, we can't just stand in judgment of these things, and maybe this is like a necessary component of society, because the thing is, like, there's basically like food shortages and energy shortages and stuff, and people have to submit to a lottery to be killed. Mm-hmm. They have to cull the population, and it kind of makes an argument that there is a necessity to that, but people should just be nicer about it. And it was kind of like I was like, wow, that's kind of dark, Caitlin. But Brandon does the same thing. It's like these disaffected fucking rich kids.
Yeah.
That like everything's an intellectual abstraction, and they like have no humanity themselves. Like, and it's really weird.
And they're like fully accepting of it. That's the other thing too. They're not even like giving up a warning side. Yeah, yeah.
They embrace their sociopathic nature, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, I think Brandon Cronenberg. I don't think he's had a slam dunk. Possessor is the closest he's come to a slam dunk. That movie's dark as fuck. Mm-hmm. Infinity Pool is dark as fuck. It's just I don't think they're as deep as people purport them to be.
Right.
They're actually pretty straightforward what they're like getting at, and they're because it has that problem where the movie becomes about a singular focus, a singular idea, instead of a kind of a bunch of connected ideas. It'll just be about one thing.
Yeah.
And because Cronenberg movies, like, there's one central conceit, and then he has all of these tendrils that come from that central conceit that we explore.
Yeah.
They don't really do that in their movies. They kind of just barrel forward with like that one notion, and then we move forward to the next part where that one notion will take effect or affect the plot in some way, and then we move to the next part. It's just there's something simplistic and facile about it that is there's not a lot of complexity there.
Yeah, they're not as meticulous as what their dad's work has like built up to at this point, and we've talked about this before with Brandon Cronenberg stuff, but like they do run on just like a feeling or a sense of like like blind, weird, cryptic pleasure in something, that I don't know. It's just like
because they're intellectual abstractions, and they only understand them through like an intellectual pursuit. It's not informed by a life.
Yeah.
It's not informed by like David Cronenberg used genre and used his proclivities and interests to explore things about himself.
Yeah.
And when you see what like this crop of modern filmmakers, what they say about themselves is actually really gross. And I don't even know if they understand that, but what they're communicating to an audience is like really some really like foul shit about themselves and their own like self-loathing. They all hate their fucking parents. It seems like, because that's like kind of the themes of all of these movies that have been coming out lately.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's depressing. It fucking bums me out.
Bums me out. Speaking of the People's Joker or something like that.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
If I ever finished it, it would probably be close to the bottom. And it's not even like, I appreciate the idea that somebody went out and like made a movie themselves and like had to use, they use green screens. There's a lot of creative stuff in there, and like a lot of, but it's got its head so far up his ass that it's just, I can't be on board with that. I can't do it. Austin says that stuff bums me out too. That's right. We're brothers, Austin. Me and you. All right, so let's both do one more good one.
One more good one. Okay. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I haven't really talked about this one at all, I think, in any sports space, but the movie The Beast with Lea Seydoux.
Oh, yeah.
And our good old pal from Red Scare, Dasha Nekosova, is in it too.
Is she really?
Yeah. No, I liked this one actually quite a bit. It's kind of because it plays it much more like a kind of cautionary, disconnected sort of tale, and less like we were just saying earlier with like the Cronenberg kids, and just like, oh, let's just go have fun with it, and live out our terrible lives. No, it takes place in the near future where emotions have become a threat, and Gabrielle finally decides to purify her DNA in a machine that will immerse her in her past lives and rid her of any strong feelings. And then she meets Lewis and feels a powerful connection, as if she had known him forever. Yeah, it's kind of like this cool, trippy experience into just like, I guess like, just in a weird way, like young kids trying to like rediscover like what love, affection, and friendship, as we brought up like earlier in this film, is again.
Well, yeah, because it's got to be about the compulsion that it's inescapable. Like you can try to bore this stuff out of yourselves, but at some point, like you're gonna just not fall victim to it. It's just part of existence. It's part of what it means to be human, right?
Yeah. I liked it though. I thought everybody did quite a good job. Some of the other cast members I definitely recognized in other things too. But there's like 3 specific like male archetypes that our main girl like runs into, and they kind of like play with those dynamics a little bit. Like one's like very abusive, the other one's a little too soft, one of them's gay, and it's just like they play with different kinds of like relationships in that way.
Okay.
So I would say it's interesting.
I'll definitely want to check it out. I actually really like Lea Seydoux, so
yeah.
Ever since I saw her in the Color Blue or whatever, that another movie about lesbians being fetishized by a kind of a creepy director.
There you go.
Austin says, what's a feel-good movie that made me feel happy to be alive? Stanley and Iris, De Niro and Jane Fonda from 1990. I don't think I've ever seen that movie. I'd check that out. I'd check it out. I'll check it out. I'm going to put it on the list, Austin. I'm going to watch it. Trebling says, I swear I thought Leah Sado and Florence Pugh were the same person in Dune Part 2. Oh,
yes. Yeah.
well, I guess they do have a little. It's the nose. They have a similar nose.
Yeah.
Listen, Florence Pugh's my kind of crazy. Listen, okay, that girl's a nut, and I can fix her. I could fix her.
There's still time. There's still time. Yeah.
There's still time. I can fix her. The last movie I'll bring up, I guess, is well, I could talk about Civil War, but I didn't like Civil War, so I won't talk about that. Furiosa. I was pleasantly surprised. I was very pleasantly surprised with Furiosa. I'll say this, just because we were talking about kind of big populist popcorn movies and stuff. I think Furiosa is probably the top of the heap for stuff like that because George Miller is just a good director, somewhat of a thoughtful storyteller. He also understands to show and not tell. There's a lot of just like good world building, good character work in here without having to do very much. Like he doesn't really belabor the point, and you just kind of get it. It's through just good casting, etc. But I was very pleasantly surprised because it ended up being way more of its own thing than I expected it to be. It has its own vibe. It has its own tone. It's kind of campy. It's fun. It's a very Australian movie. It's very kind of wild in that way, but with the big budget, I am bummed that it bombed. It deserved better than that. I will say that for sure.
I do think if there wasn't the amount of studio meddling that I'm sure was involved with the production of it, there was the potential for a really great Chris Hemsworth like tragedy sort of like film, just like
because I expected him to be bad. I didn't think he looked bad in the trailer, and I saw the nose and stuff, and I was like, I don't know. And then in the movie, it totally works, 100%. He's great in the movie, actually.
Yeah, but if he was leading it the whole way, if it wasn't a Furiosa prequel, if we weren't throwing in all the other callbacks to Fury Road, which we've already brought up plenty of times with Prophet and everybody, that why? Yeah,
but it just kind of mainly did that at the end, that bridging scene, which I agree. It's just like, why do we do that? Like, I don't need to do that. Like, I didn't need to see her look like Charlize Theron and then literally have Charlize Theron's voice dubbed over her voice. I didn't need that. That was stupid. But it didn't lean into it as much as I thought it was going to. I mean, visually, obviously, there's connective tissue there because it's the same time period, the same part of the world, whatever you want to call it. But I was pleasantly surprised by like how much of its own thing and how much of its own path it struck. I didn't even find like the cameos from Fury Road that distracting or that much of a problem. I'm looking forward to watching it again. I know it just came out on 4K recently, so I'll probably pick it up at some point in the near future and give it another go. But yeah, pleasantly surprised by it. I thought it was, and I like Anya Taylor-Joy. I don't know. I mean, she's an alluring creature, and she's a good actress. There's worse people you could be stuck looking at for 2 hours than Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
Trembling says Florence Pugh is the hottest little fireplug shaped blonde since Hayden Panettiere. It's true. She does have some of that Hayden Panettiere energy.
Yeah.
Although Hayden Panettiere seems like she'd be more wholesome. Like I feel like Florence Pugh is probably like legit kind of crazy.
I would think nowadays, because the last thing I saw Hayden in was Scream 6.
6, yeah.
Yeah, her character comes back.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Oh, did you hear that they may have worked out their issues with for Scream 7 with that actress, the Free Palestine lady? I don't remember.
Are there? Is she now coming back or?
I think she might be, and that maybe it'll be like because I think they already talked to Nev Campbell. Nev Campbell was already coming back now.
Okay.
Because when they they had to reconceptualize whatever they were doing. And I think they were gonna like bring Nev Campbell back as the star again.
Sure.
But yeah,
because I know Jenna Ortega called some of them out too, saying that the reason why she wasn't coming back was for scheduling conflicts with Beetlejuice. But I think she was also saying like, yeah, but also this studio is like so politically correct right now too. So she's now jumping on the other side of it as well. It's like a weird little.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
journalistic kind of. I don't know.
It's just they're too politically correct. Really?
Like,
are you
really?
fucking kidding me? Just because you have this this pet peeve that's going on in the world, you've decided to give a fuck about something that's not your life for once.
Yeah.
Suddenly, it's a problem. Austin says Scream 5 was awful. I haven't seen 6. I can't even remember Scream 5. Honestly, I don't even remember what. Yeah, I don't remember it. Scream 6, I remember being like, in the way that it's bad, I enjoy it.
Yeah,
but it's not good. But it's like it's kind of so stupid that it kind of turns the corner into being like enjoyable in kind of a meta way. I'm waiting for them to. I need to see Scream in space. I need to see that. That's going to happen.
Where they're headed. Yeah,
that's where they got to do it. They got to do it.
If Leprechaun can do it, if Jason Voorhees can do it, Scream can do it. Yeah.
How did Freddy never go to space? How did we never get like a Nightmare on Elm Street where like it's just like a bunch of astronauts or whatever, space colonizers out there on a long mission, and they're in cryo sleep, and it brings Freddy back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's like you just see like Freddy's face in the stars. Like, oh, what's that sign? Like, I don't know. They just do something. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, Fred Krueger. Who is this? They find it in the files.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
He was born on the moon.
Yeah. No, they just find files. They find files somewhere. Like, they could be salvagers, and they they board a vessel, and there's remnants of and I don't know, some cult has launched the remains of Freddy Krueger into space, and they happen upon them, and it starts the nightmare again.
Yeah,
just in space, which just makes it cooler, right? Isn't that how it works?
That's what they'll call the new one, like Freddy in Space, the Dream Cult. There you go.
There you go, Dream Cult. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 10. Is that where we're at? 11.
55.
Come on, we gotta bring him. We gotta bring him back one more time. We gotta get what's his name, the actor,
Robert Englund.
Robert Englund. Yeah, gotta bring him back. Signal Intrusion says, I think Hayden Panettiere got into a street brawl. Actually, I believe she did. She got into some physical altercation with a family member or something, and it made the news. Yeah, listen, you don't mess with Hayden Panettiere, okay? She's the cheerleader, okay? You ever watch Heroes? I watched the first season of Heroes. That's all I've ever seen. Yeah. Austin says, I finished Party of 5 this year, Nev Campbell show. That's a show I never really watched very much of. It was on when I was growing up, and I saw a couple episodes here and there. Usually I would see the end of episodes because I was going to watch something, whatever came on after. Like, whatever the new show Fox was trying to launch at the time would always be after Party of 5, because Party of 5 was their juggernaut. So I would see the end of a lot of episodes while I was waiting for, like, the live-action Tick show to come on or something. Trumpik says, I seriously don't know why we've been so long without a Jason movie. Jason is evergreen. Oh, well, buddy, you got to go see In a Violent Nature, because that's who we got now. Okay?
Yeah, if you want to bore your eyes out,
holy shit,
because it's quite a
it's bad. It's not good. Well, I think most of the problem with Jason is the rights. The rights holders, although I think recently I've heard something that is somewhat resolved, and maybe we'll see something in the near future. But do we need another Jason movie? No. Oh, can we just start making new stuff, please? Can we just start a new era of things to endlessly sequelize for the next 30 years? We need like new IPs. We need new stuff to do for the next 40 years in entertainment.
And none of these shows are originals. Like, do something just ballsy and different. Yeah.
I mean, like something like The Collector or something. Like, why wasn't that like embraced more? There are examples of movies that have gone out there and tried it. Even like Malignant. Let's fucking keep rolling with Malignant. I'm down. Like I don't know. I think I'm in the minority, but I like Malignant because it's so wacky, it's so campy and silly. But I just really enjoy it.
And it's not even like everyone always says like it doesn't get wacky until like the last like third of it or
that's
like, no,
not true.
It's pretty wacky from the start, and that's how I was kind of treating it. Yeah,
the opening scene in the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where he has all those great like big zoom ins and shit like that,
yeah.
with people saying like, you know, horrific things like, we have to cut it out. Like, there's some great fun stuff in that movie. I think people went into that movie like taking it too seriously, and didn't mesh with like the tone and the vibe.
Mm-hmm. The whole time I was watching it too, I was thinking like, where was this James Wan back in the early 2000s? This is like kind of fun.
yeah. Well, I mean, you saw little sparks of that in something like Dead Silence.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Sure.
But anyways, I don't know. Do you have anything else? Any other ones you want to touch on before we bid everyone adieu?
I think I'm pretty good here. Nothing else that we haven't really touched on before. I put a couple short films on my list. I don't know if those are gonna like count like when I do my full on like best and worst of the year. But The Last Brunch is a pretty decent one by Jim Cummings. It's 11 minutes.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that making the rounds.
Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube right now. It's out there. I like Jim Cummings. I think he's more at his best when he's doing like his short film material, and he just has like a good network of friends that can like do monologues and just act very, very I don't know how to describe it, just very hyper OCD, just like
like him.
Yeah, like
like
pretty
him.
much like him. Yeah.
I really like that werewolf one he did.
The Wolf of Snow Hollow, I think is what
yeah,
it's called.
I actually kind of enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I tried to watch his other one, the one he made about the affair agency or something. Something game or something like that.
I know. I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name. It's not coming to me.
I started it and never finished it, and I always meant to go back to it.
Yeah.
And I also Thunder Road was actually also pretty okay.
Thunder Road was great. Yeah.
The beta test.
The beta. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
The beta test. It was okay. It's his most indie feeling movie that I've seen of him. And if you like watching Jim Cummings play a complete asshole, like it's fun. It's fun for that. It's and I like he's trying new things though. I like it, and he mixes genres, and he mixes comedy and horror and thrillers and mysteries, like all in the same kind of stories, and they have their own kind of unique verisimilitude and idiosyncrasies.
Oh,
and
sure.
I just enjoyed those. I've enjoyed it. So I'm glad to see whatever he does. So I'll definitely check out his short film.
I'll make like one final note here where, I've always just admired his prowess as a filmmaker and the things that he definitely the tips he provides and the way he kind of speaks for the little guy a little bit who's trying to get their film out there and distributed or even seen. He's very down to earth in that respect, and I've always respected him in that.
Yeah,
I may not always agree with him on some things, but like he at least does think about like the up and coming yuppie filmmaker, and he still brings that quality to his stuff even to this day. So
yeah, he's kind of got that because he's part of like David Gordon Green's circle.
Yeah,
and they're all kind of like that actually. Mm-hmm. They help people out all the time. Those guys. Trembling says, I need to watch Malignant now. Dude, I'm telling you, Trembling, because since you like camp, I know you're kind of a camp bro with like me and Prophet. I think you would definitely enjoy it. You just have to go in it with the right attitude, the right mindset. Like, it's not some horror masterpiece. It's like, it got giallo pastiches, and it's like a monster movie, and it's fun. And it's just fun. And Austin agrees. He says Malignant is awesome. It's a fun movie, dude. Yep. I don't understand how you can watch Malignant and not like enjoy it on some level.
I don't know how you could be mad at it. That's my thing. It's like, it's just
it's
fun. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, like, it's got the same problem a lot of James Wan movies has, where he has like good principal actors, and his secondary cast is always like the cops and stuff are always like the worst television style actors ever.
Yeah,
and Malignant has that problem.
Sure.
You're like, Jesus Christ. But anyways, I think we have gone super long, way longer than I thought we were going to go. So we will bid you guys adieu tonight, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks for another episode of Goes to the Movies Live. I think we're going to be diving into some Brad Jones stuff, I think. I think that's the plan.
Yes. Yep.
So we're going to go through, watch some Brad Jones movies, maybe watch one of them on stream with you guys for the second half of the show. So we'll do like an abbreviated Goes to the Movies, and then do like a watch and talk of one of Brad Jones's movies. It might be fun. But yeah, all right. Adios. See you later, everybody. Goodbye.
Take care.